Chapter 90. So Zhao Ergo sold his farm and bought a house in the city. He brought his blind mother to the capital city and lived the life of a rich family. He wholeheartedly wanted to marry a beautiful city girl as his wife, but the surrounding large families all knew that he was a farmer in the countryside. No one was willing to let their daughter marry a country bumpkin, so he had delayed it until he was 23. He was so anxious that his head almost turned white. Chen Ning revealed a mysterious smile and slowly said, "Big brother Zhao, what I'm saying is all from your palm." She spoke as if she was telling the truth. The surrounding people all believed it, and Zhao Ergo was filled with admiration. He almost knelt down in front of Chen Ning and called her an immortal descending to the mortal world. Divine fortune-telling girl, can you help me calculate when I can marry a wife?" Zhao Ergo's expression and tone became very low. He had a very careful look on his face, completely different from before. "About this, let me calculate it." Chen Ning slightly closed her eyes and the fingers on her right hand kept flexing, as if she was calculating something. The surrounding people were all shocked by her divine skill. They couldn't help holding their breaths, afraid that they would disturb her. Zhao Ergo did not even dare to breathe. Chen Ning finally opened her eyes and revealed a faint smile to Zhao Ergo. "Your Hong-One star has already moved. In less than 3 days, there will be people coming to your house to propose marriage. I wish Big Brother Zhao and my future wife-in-law 100 years of happiness and many children." What did you say? There will really be people coming to my house to propose marriage. Zhao Ergo was filled with joy. He was so excited that he wanted to grab Chen Ning's hand. Chen Ning's hand moved back and he grabbed empty air. He immediately realized that his actions were a bit rude and scratched his head in embarrassment. "I'm sorry, divine fortune-telling girl, I'm just too happy." But you wouldn't be lying to me, right?" he asked with a face filled with worry. It had to be known that in these past 2 years, he had given countless amounts of money to the matchmakers, but none of them had been able to help him find a marriage. But today, Chen Ning had said that there would be people coming to propose marriage in 3 days. How could he not be suspicious? In 3 days, if Big Brother Zhao doesn't see anyone coming to propose marriage, then you can come and destroy my iron-mouthed divine fortune-telling sign. Chen Ning pointed at the black and white words on the side and said in a resolute voice. Good, here are 10 silver coins. I asked divine fortune-telling girl to accept it. If there really is a joyous event within 3 days, I, Zhao Ergo, will definitely come back to thank divine fortune-telling girl. Zhao Ergo was so happy that he could not close his mouth. He took out 10 silver coins and respectfully placed them on the table before leaving in a happy mood. He had heard from Chen Ning that someone would come to propose in 3 days. He was afraid of missing it, so he couldn't wait to rush home. Of course Chen Ning was not Zhuge Liang who could predict the future, and she did not know how to read fortunes. The so-called fortune reading was just a pretense she made up. The reason why she could be so accurate was because of her meticulous observation and accurate psychological judgment. This micro-expression technique in psychology was very profound and had been mastered by many people in the modern era. Chen Ning was one of the best at this. She had repeatedly used these 2 skills to solve some difficult and strange cases. Chapter 91. Although Chen Ning said that this man surnamed Zhao would have something good happen in 3 days and no one could verify it, she was able to tell that Zhao Ergo's matter was correct just by reading his palm. Once this skill was revealed, how could anyone doubt her divine fortune-telling ability at all? The crowd suddenly became excited. Divine fortune-telling girl, I am willing to pay an extra 50 silver coins. Can you help me with my divination first? A fat middle-aged man with a big belly squeezed out of the crowd. He placed a silver ingot worth 50 silver coins in front of Chen Ning and spoke in a rich and overbearing manner. Chen Ning was stunned. Before she could say anything, the crowd began to fill with angry and dissatisfied voices. "That fatty, what do you mean? Are you showing off how much money you have? Do you think that with some stinky money, you can get a number? Father has 50 more silver coins than you. Damn, I'll pay an extra 100 silver coins." The originally orderly team suddenly became a mess. Everyone squeezed forward, surrounding a small wooden table so tightly that not even a drop of water could trickle through. There were 3 layers of people inside and 3 layers outside. Chen Ning suddenly found it hard to breathe. Those local tycoons were still calling out their prices. 150 silver coins. 200 silver coins. 250. Their voices were getting louder and louder, each one more confident than the last. The amount of silver coins kept increasing, making Chen Ning's head feel like it was about to explode. Her face sunk and it was as if a layer of frost had covered it. "All of you shut up for me." Her voice was even more effective than the Emperor's imperial edict. The chaotic crowd instantly quietened down. Everyone stared at her without blinking, feeling uneasy in their hearts. It seemed like the divine fortune-telling girl was angry. Chen Ning had an expressionless face and did not even look at the crowd. She picked up a piece of paper and tore it into 10 pieces. Then she picked up a pen and wrote 10 numbers from 1 to 10 on each piece of paper. Everyone stared at her intently, not knowing what she meant by this. Chen Ning put down the pen and looked up at the crowd. She calmly said, "There is a saying that heaven's secrets cannot be revealed, but fortune-telling is considered revealing heaven's secrets. I do not dare go against the heavens, otherwise I will be punished by the heavens, so I can only do 10 divinations a day. There are 10 pieces of paper with numbers on them. If you want me to calculate your divinations, then follow the order on these pieces of paper. Those that do not get a piece of paper, please come early tomorrow." After saying this, she pushed the pieces of paper to the front of the table. Suddenly, countless large hands reached out. "Ha, ha, I got one. I got one. First, I'm first." In the blink of an eye, the 10 pieces of paper had been snatched up. Those who managed to get their hands on it were overjoyed, while those who didn't were depressed. The one who snatched the slip of paper with the number 1 written on it was a young man in his 20s who was dressed like a scholar. He was thin and tall like a bamboo pole, and his arms were especially long. He proudly waved the piece of paper and said, "The number 1 is mine, no one can steal it from me. I'll go first." He lifted his robe and prepared to sit down on the bench in front of Chen Ning. "Wait a minute, I'll buy your number 1 piece of paper." The middle-aged fat man that did not get a piece of paper squeezed out of the crowd and took out a white silver bill, 100 silver coins. "Do you want to sell it?" The scholar's eyes lit up and he did not hesitate at all. "I'll sell." He happily nodded and gave the piece of paper to the middle-aged fat man, exchanging it for the 100 silver bill. Then he moved to the side and happily watched the show. Chapter 92. The fat middle-aged man's action instantly made all the rich people who couldn't get a piece of paper feel enlightened. They couldn't get it, but they could buy it with money. Chen Ning smiled as she watched the rich people bid for the paper she wrote, but she did not stop them. She looked at the fat middle-aged man in front of her and asked with a smile, "This old master, do you want to calculate when you will have a child?" Although the fat squire was already filled with admiration for Chen Ning's divine fortune-telling, hearing her words, he was still shocked by her words. You, how do you know?" He was stunned. "Naturally, from your physiognomy." Chen Ning looked at the fat man's face for a while and then looked at him up and down. Then she nodded and picked up a pen. She wrote 6 words on a piece of paper, folded it into a square, and gave it to the fat man. "I have a secret recipe here. As long as you follow this recipe, after a year, there should be good news." The fat man's jaw almost dropped in shock. He received the square with a bit of doubt. He opened it and read the words on it, "Keep your mouth shut and move your legs more." He read it word by word, but he was completely confused. "What do you mean by this?" His face sunk and he asked in a very angry voice. Just these 6 words would allow him to hug the fat boy. He did not believe it at all. In the daytime, this girl was a swindling Jianghu swindler, wasting his 100 taels of silver for nothing. Of course, it's the meaning of the words. Keeping your mouth shut and moving your legs is to let the old master eat less and move more. It's because you are just too fat, Chen Ning said in a long voice. As soon as her voice fell, the surrounding people broke out in laughter. Because what she said couldn't be more correct. That fat man was so fat that he didn't even have a neck. He had a big belly and he looked just like a fat pig sitting there. The fat man's face turned the color of a pig's liver as he angrily said, "What does father not having a son have to do with father being fat?" Of course it's related, and it's very related. Chen Ning's smile disappeared and she said with a serious face, "It's because you're too fat that you still don't have a son. Even if you have 7 concubines, not only do you not have a son, you haven't even given birth to a daughter. The reason is not because of your concubines, but rather because of you. If you keep getting fat like this, I dare say that you won't have a son in this lifetime." You. The fat man pointed at Chen Ning and was so angry that he couldn't say anything. As a fatty, the last thing he wanted to hear in his life was others calling him fat. If someone dared to mention the word fat in front of him, even if it wasn't him, he would immediately turn hostile. He really wanted to curse out loud, but after thinking about it, how did she know that he had 7 concubines? Did she really calculate it? You. How did you know that this official has 7 concubines? His face turned red and he finally managed to force out this sentence. Right now he was only half believing Chen Ning, so he did not dare offend her. If the other side really was a divine immortal, then wouldn't he have offended an expert? Chapter 93. The fat man was given the cold shoulder, but he did not dare say anything. He angrily threw out 10 silver coins and muttered in a low voice, "Humph, what divine fortune telling, I think you're just a swindler." Although his mouth was cursing, he still believed 70 to 80% of Chen Ning's words in his heart. He stood up and prepared to leave, but Chen Ning suddenly called out to him. "Official master, I'll give you a free sentence. If you can't give birth to a son, it has nothing to do with your women. If you randomly marry a concubine and go against the will of the heavens, then you will have to bear the consequences. This miss will say this much, I hope that the official master knows what to do next." After saying this, she no longer paid attention to the fat man and directly began to read the fortune of the person who received the second slip. The fat man was stunned for a while. He looked at Chen Ning's calm appearance and his heart was filled with doubt. He did not immediately leave, but rather he squeezed into the crowd and watched Chen Ning read the fortune of others. If this girl could read the fortune of others accurately, then she really was a divine fortune teller. Otherwise, she would be a swindler from head to toe and he would definitely send her to the government to be punished. How could Chen Ning let him have his way? She did not say anything, but as long as she did, the fortune teller would be shocked. Out of the 10 things she said, not a single one was wrong. Moreover, her words were clear and logical, causing the surrounding people to gasp in amazement. There were more and more people coming to watch the excitement. Even the vendors who were doing business were attracted over. They did not even do their business and just squeezed into the crowd to watch the excitement. The originally noisy street suddenly became deserted. Everyone squeezed into the corner of the street, surrounding that corner with 3 layers inside and 3 layers outside. Not even a drop of water could pass through. Where are the people doing business on this street? Why are they all gone? On the other side of the street, there were 2 people slowly walking over. The one walking in front was a tall black-clothed man, and behind him was a blue-clothed youth. The blue-clothed youth had a surprised look on his face as he spoke. His master was not in a good mood. He knew that there would often be strange things being sold on this street, so he suggested coming here to relax. Perhaps he would be able to find something unexpected to relieve his master's boredom. But he never thought that the originally noisy street would suddenly become deserted. There was not even a single person, making him feel surprised. The black-clothed man had an expressionless face. His deep eyes fell onto the corner of the street and his eyes slightly flashed. The originally quiet corner was now filled with people. It was as if the entire street was filled with people, not knowing what had happened. "Shall see," he softly said. "This servant understands." Shao Si immediately ran to the corner of the street where the crowd was. Then, with a great deal of effort, he squeezed his way through and finally reached the front. Standing on his tiptoes to look at the center of the crowd, he couldn't help being overjoyed. It was actually her. This was truly a case of wearing out iron shoes in fruitless searching, only to find it by chance without any effort. This was wearing iron shoes in a fruitless search, it was really finding it without any effort. The reason why Master was in a bad mood was because of her. He was so happy that he jumped 3 feet high. Just as he was about to squeeze out of the crowd to report to the black-clothed man, he was unable to move in the next moment. At this moment, Chen Ning was reading a middle-aged man's words. In just a few words, she had made the middle-aged man gasp in amazement, treating her like a goddess. "Divine fortune teller, what you've said is completely correct. Hearing the divine fortune teller's words today is better than reading books for 10 years. This is a small token of gratitude. I ask the divine fortune teller to accept it as a token of my respect." Chapter 94. Chen Ning sent the middle-aged man off with her eyes and then put away the red packet. Her hand slightly sank and it was actually very heavy. This red packet did not look big, but it was very heavy. It could be imagined that it was not silver, but rather gold. She gently curled her lips and revealed a smile. She never thought that there would be so many rich people in this era. Next, she placed the red packet in Xiao Ru's hands and continued. Xiao Si could no longer move his feet. His 2 eyes were staring at Chen Ning's face, not even blinking as he watched her read other people's fortunes. To be honest, before this, he did not think that there was anything special about this girl at all. The main thing was her face. It was a yellow and malnourished face. Other than her clear and bright eyes, there was nothing special about her. He just couldn't understand why his master was so interested in such a girl. If one wanted to see a girl, any girl in his master's house was prettier than her. But there were so many good-looking girls, but his master never looked at any of them. How could he like this girl? But today, he had personally seen her read other people's fortunes. He found that he had already forgotten about the other side's normal appearance and was completely attracted by her way of speaking. He unknowingly fell into a trance and completely forgot about what his master had told him. The black-clothed man waited for a long time, but Xiao Si did not come back. His heart couldn't help tightening. He knew the martial arts of his personal follower. Don't look at how young he was a martial arts genius. Normal people were not his match, and even if it was a normal Jianghu expert, he could still deal with 2 or 3 of them. So his first thought was that something had happened to Xiao Si. His figure flashed and like a hawk, he landed on the edge of the crowd. Seeing the tightly packed crowd, there was not even a single gap. He was not fast or slow as he walked forward like he was taking a leisurely stroll. The crowd in front of him was like nothing. Everyone felt an undercurrent move and they couldn't help moving to the side, making a path for him. Xiao Si. Before he even reached the center of the crowd, he saw Xiao Si. That brat had an infatuated look in front of him, not knowing what he was listening to. "Master." The man's deep voice woke Xiaoxi up from his dream. He saw the black-clothed man standing in front of him and remembered his task. He couldn't help feeling a bit guilty. "I told you to come here to listen to a story, The black-clothed man's voice did not contain any emotions, but the coldness in his voice made Xiaoxi shiver. "It's not a story, master. It's that girl. Look, she's reading someone's fortune." Xiaoxi swallowed a mouthful of saliva and pointed at Xiaoxi. Sure enough, as soon as he finished speaking, he saw his master's gloomy gaze change direction in an instant. It was her. The black-clothed man's eyes suddenly became focused. His gaze fell on the words, "Iron-mouthed divine fortune teller," and he was slightly startled. "Aged," I said, "Xiao book." "Xiao sigh." Xiao said. Xiao Yun said. He did not make a sound as he quietly stood in the crowd, watching Chen Ning read the fortune of a fortune teller sitting in front of a table. Chapter 95. He spent 500 taels of silver to buy the last piece of paper without batting an eyelid. After sitting down, Chen Ning asked him if he wanted to read his fortune or fortune. He thought about it and then said, "I'll read your fortune." His voice was low, but it was very powerful. He thought about it for a bit before picking up the pen and writing the word "return." Then he pushed it in front of Chen Ning. His strokes were very smooth. Chen Ning looked at it and asked, "What do you want to read?" The scholar said, "I have something that I can't find no matter how I look. I want to calculate the whereabouts of this thing and when it will return to my side. I wonder if the divine fortune-telling girl can calculate it." Chen Ning couldn't help being stunned. She asked, "What is it?" The scholar slightly shook his head and did not answer. Chen Ning knew that this was something that was hard to say. In front of everyone, he could not say anything. But like this, the scholar had given her a very difficult problem. She was not an immortal from the heavens. If she could even calculate the whereabouts of the other person's lost item, that would be too incredible. Not to mention that she didn't even know what the missing item was. When Xiaoxi heard this, he couldn't hold it in any longer. He shouted, "Hey, aren't you clearly making it hard for people? This girl is not part of your family. If you lose something and don't go look for it in your own home, is this something that can be calculated with just divination?" Once he spoke, many people around him began to agree with him. This little brother is right. He really is making things difficult for people. Divine fortune-telling girl should just ignore him. That's right, if you lose something, go look for it in your own home. The crowd began to roar as they chased the scholar away. The scholar ignored everyone's ridicule and just looked at Chen Ning. With a serious expression, he said, "I know this matter is too difficult, so I'm just trying my luck with this girl's fortune-telling. If this girl can't calculate it, then this is the will of the heavens." AI. Chen Ning had thought that this person was deliberately causing trouble, but when she looked at the scholar's expression, she found that it wasn't the case. He must have really run into trouble and was at his wit's end. That's why he thought of fortune-telling and asking for his fortune. But she really couldn't help him with this matter. If she could even calculate this, then she really would be an immortal from the heavens. She gave an apologetic smile, "I'm really sorry, Your Excellency's divination, I can't calculate it." The scholar had a trace of hope in his eyes, but when he heard Chen Ning say this, the light in his eyes quickly dimmed. "I was presumptuous and disturbed this girl." He sighed and stood up. With a flick of his sleeve, he touched the corner of the table with a ding-dong sound. A rattledrum rolled out from his sleeve. He bent down to pick up the rattle, gently brushed away the dust on it, and lovingly put it back into his sleeve. He turned around to leave. Seeing this, Chen Ning's eyes flashed and her heart seemed to be touched. She lowered her gaze and happened to see the word "return" written by the scribe. Her two beautiful eyebrows slightly furrowed. Please. The scholar turned around and looked at Chen Ning with a puzzled expression. Is there something else Miss wants? Chen Ning's eyes sparkled. Her eyes were as bright as autumn and her lips curled into a faint smile. Although her face was yellow and her beauty was covered, the smile on her face filled the scholar's heart with hope. Chapter 96. Chen Ning revealed a faint smile and said, "The thing you lost, was it square?" The scholar's body trembled and he revealed an excited expression. He shot over to the table and almost flipped it over. Right, that's right, it was square. Divine fortune-telling girl, can you calculate the whereabouts of this thing? He anxiously asked. Chen Ning did not answer him and continued to ask, in your backyard, is there a well? Yes, there is a well. The scholar swallowed a mouthful of saliva and gave a heavy nod. He could not hide the look of surprise on his face. If my calculations aren't wrong, the thing you're looking for should be at the bottom of the well. You just need to drain the well and you'll be able to find it. Is that true? The scholar had a look of disbelief as he looked at Chen Ning in a daze. I only calculated it, I don't have 100% guarantee. Chen Ning was telling the truth. It was just that she was using reasoning and not calculation. The scholar seemed like he didn't believe her. He shook his head and muttered to himself, at the bottom of the well. Impossible, how could that thing be at the bottom of the well? Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something and a look of joy flashed across his face. He broke through the crowd and began to run. Hey, don't run, stop. You haven't even paid your fortune yet. The scholar looked very gentle, but he ran very fast. In the blink of an eye, he had already disappeared at the end of the street. Xiaoru chased after him for a few steps and angrily stomped her feet at the scholar's back. Young miss, that fellow looks like a dog, but I never thought that he would be someone who doesn't pay for his fortune. It really is infuriating. She angrily pouted her lips. It's fine, I don't have 100% guarantee on this divination, so I'll just treat it as a gift to him. Chen Ning revealed an uncaring smile. She cupped her hands at the dense crowd around her. We'll stop here for today. That's all for today. Those who still want to have their fortunes read, please come early tomorrow. After saying this, she led Xiaoru to the carpentry shop to return the rented table and chairs. The people who still wanted to see more followed behind her. They were filled with praises and discussions. Chen Ning turned around to look at the long tail behind her. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. If she had known that there would be such a big commotion, she wouldn't have set up a stall here to do her fortune-telling. If this continued, she would quickly become famous in the capital city. People were afraid of fame, pigs were afraid of being fat. Being famous was not a good thing for her. If one day someone saw through her disguise and recognized her as the real princess of the King Ding Yuan Palace, it would be very bad for her. Chen Ning rubbed her chin and began to think about whether or not she should find another way to earn money. She turned with Xiaoru and Xiao. Xiaoru, Ning, and Xiaoru, and Xiao. Finally, they turned into a quiet alley. There was no one behind her and Xiaoru. She, leaving the long tail behind, ran, chin, I lost, I. However, before she could even catch her breath, she heard a malicious voice above her head. Little girl, you're running quite fast. Are you in such a rush to give money to this man? Chen Ning suddenly looked up and saw a 30-year-old man standing on the wall. He had a pockmarked face and his face was filled with meat. He had a fierce look on his face. That pockmarked man snapped his fingers and several dozen people appeared from both ends of the alley. Looking at their clothes, they should be local ruffians. Chapter 97. Xiaoru's face turned white from fear. She tightly grabbed onto Chen Ning's sleeve and said in a trembling voice, young miss, who are they? Chen Ning already knew in her heart and she couldn't help letting out a sigh in her heart. What she was afraid of really came. The so-called tall trees attract the wind, this was not false at all. She had just popped her head out, and she was already being targeted by this group of ruffians. They must have wanted to cause trouble for her, but there were too many people watching, so they didn't show themselves. They waited until the two of them were alone before suddenly appearing and blocking them here. Don't be afraid, Xiao Ru, they're here to rob us. Just give them our money bags and we'll be fine. Chen Ning patted the back of Xiao Ru's hand and comforted her. She waited for a bit. There were too many people and they were all men. Although she knew some martial arts, it was hard for two fists to fight four hands. No matter what, she couldn't beat these hoodlums. Originally she wanted to use the same plan and capture the leader first. She wanted to capture the leader with the pockmarked face and then the rest of the lackeys would collapse on their own. But the pockmarked face was very smart. He stood high up on the wall and commanded the lackeys to move forward, making it so that she could see but not reach. After weighing the pros and cons, Chen Ning decided to lose the money to avoid trouble. Because any problem that money could solve was not trouble at all. When the pockmarked face heard Chen Ning's words, he laughed and said, "This little girl is quite smart. Since you know what these men do, then obediently hand over the money." Xiao Ru tightly held onto the money bags and angrily stared at the approaching hoodlums. This was the money that the young miss had worked so hard to earn. She was not willing to let it be taken away like this. One of the hoodlums grabbed the money bag and forcefully pulled it back. He snapped, "Give it to me." Xiao Ru gritted her teeth and did not let go. Chen Ning said, "Xiao Ru, give the money to them." "No, young miss, this is the money you worked so hard to earn, you can't let them take it away." Xiao Ru's eyes turned red and she was about to cry. "Ayo, this little girl is quite pretty, why don't you play with these masters?" Several hoodlums stared at Xiao Ru's pretty face as they revealed intoxicated eyes. They surrounded Xiao Ru and did not even look at Chen Ning. Xiao Ru couldn't help trembling in fear. The two scoundrels reached out their hands to touch Xiao Ru's face and waist. Xiao Ru let out a scream. She had already retreated to the corner and could not avoid it, so she could only let go of the money bag. But the two hoodlums did not withdraw their hands. Rather they grabbed Xiao Ru's wrists and pulled her into their arms. "Hey, I've already given you the purse. Let her go. Don't tell me you want to rape her after robbing her." Chen Ning knit her brows and waved her right arm. With a block and a push, she pushed away the hoodlum grabbing Xiao Ru and then stood in front of her. Xiao Ru's face was all ready. Xiao Ru's face. Xiao R, and Xiao cry. Even if, she. Xiao Ning. Xiao. Ning Xiao, Ning said. Not. The pockmarked man also stared at Xiao Ru. Although Xiao Ru's body was not fully grown yet, her face was delicate and her skin was crystal clear. She was like a budding flower, already having an alluring charm. Chen Ning's face sunk as if it was covered in a layer of frost. These hoodlums were going too far. Chapter 98. Xiao Ru bit her lips until they bled. She reached out her hand and forcefully pushed Chen Ning out as she cried out. You have to keep your word. I will stay and you'll let my young miss go. Young miss, quickly leave. This servant doesn't care, as long as the young miss can safely leave, that's fine. Xiao Ru, I won't leave you alone. If you want to stay, then we'll stay together. Chen Ning was also determined. She rolled up her sleeves and prepared to go all out. All right. Then you can all stay here. Your little girl's face isn't that great, but your body is definitely good. It's all concave and protruding. It's much better than that little girl who hasn't even grown up yet. Father will just close my eyes when I play. After blowing out the lights, women are all the same. The pockmarked man in the lead stared at Chin Ning and gave a vulgar smile. The group of hoodlums broke out in laughter as they surrounded Chin Ning and Xiao Ru. Whistles and laughter filled the air. Xiao Ru's face turned red. Ever since she was young, she had never heard this kind of dirty words before. Her little fists were tightly clenched as she wished she could smash the pockmarked man's teeth with a single punch. Chen Ning's eyes turned cold as she coldly stared at the pockmarked man. Stop boasting up there, aren't you afraid the wind will cut your tongue? If you're a man, then come down and fight me one-on-one. Alright, let's fight one-on-one. Why would father be afraid of a weak little girl like you? The pockmarked man gave a frivolous smile. How could he place a girl like Chin Ning in his eyes, especially in front of his subordinates? If he didn't fight her one-on-one, then wouldn't he be a joke? He jumped up and landed on his feet, preparing to boast a few more times. Chen Ning was waiting for him to jump down from the wall. How could she wait for him to speak again as she sent out a punch? With a pang sound, it landed right on the pockmarked man's nose. The pockmarked man did not expect Chen Ning to make a move this fast. She said she would make a move. He was not prepared at all. This punch made his nose sour and 2 streams of tears couldn't help flowing down. Ze, you really have no future. You've only been punched by me once and you're already crying. Alright, elder sister won't hit you anymore. Chen Ning gave a tisk sound and waved her fist. Her voice was filled with ridicule. Her words of ridicule made the pockmarked man even more ashamed than the punch. He angrily shouted, "Stinking girl, you're seeking death." Pang! Before his voice fell, Chen Ning's fist slammed into his right cheek. This one was even heavier than the last one and he instantly felt something in his mouth. When he spat it out, he saw several white teeth mixed with blood falling to the ground. Stinking girl, you dare hit your grandfather. Bang! A heavy punch landed on his left cheek, and he spat out a few more teeth. At this time, the pockmarked man's face had already turned into a pig's head. His head was buzzing, and he stood shakily. Chen Ning didn't stop there. She sent out a kick and kicked the pockmarked man to the ground. Then she charged forward and punched the pockmarked man with her left and right fists. Pang, 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 pang. Ai. The pockmarked man was crying out in pain at first, but he couldn't even cry out anymore. His face had already become unrecognizable. His nose was covered in blood, his eyes had turned black, and all his teeth had been knocked out. His mouth was swollen like a pig's mouth. Chapter 99. Those hoodlums were all shocked by Chen Ning's cruelty. Especially when they saw the pockmarked man's pitiful state, they all took in a cold breath and looked at Chen Ning with a strange gaze. Oh my God, is she still a woman? She was simply a demonic goddess. This kind of woman, who dared to provoke her? Xiao Ru was filled with excitement as she waved her little fist and cheered her on from the side. Use more strength, good hit. Young miss, use a bit more strength. She shouted as she ruthlessly kicked the pockmarked man's butt several times. Chen Ning let out a breath and straightened her back. Her hands were already sore from all the beating. After this round of beating, the pockmarked man's grandmother wouldn't even be able to recognize him. You're all dead people, why aren't you attacking together for father? Beat these 2 women to death. The pockmarked man had been beaten silly by Chen Ning. He was lying on the ground without moving, but he suddenly opened his toothless mouth and roared at the people around him. The hoodlums finally reacted. They all revealed fierce expressions as they slowly approached Chen Ning and Xiao Ru. With the pockmarked man's reminder, they all understood. They had many people. No matter how fierce the other side was, it was just a woman. What did they have to be afraid of? Stop. If any of you dare take a step forward, I'll take your life. Chen Ning grabbed the pockmarked man's throat with one hand. Her eyes were ice cold as she coldly spoke. Who would have thought that this move wouldn't work? Alright, since you've killed our boss, then I'll be the new boss. Brothers, let's attack together. A hoodlum shouted out. With a wave of his hand, everyone charged forward. Damn! Chen Ning couldn't help secretly scolding herself for making a mistake. These hoodlums were not the same as Mother Lin from the king's palace. They did not care about the pockmarked man's life or death. Seeing several dozen people charge forward like a beehive, even if she had 3 heads and 6 arms, she wouldn't be a match. At this critical moment, a figure suddenly fell from the sky. His tall and straight body was like a pine tree, firmly protecting her behind him. Who dares move against her? The black-clothed man coldly said as his deep and cold eyes swept over them. All the ruffians and scoundrels felt a cold wind rising from the ground, and they couldn't help but shiver. Who was this man? How terrifying! They who bullied the weak and feared the strong were instantly shocked by the black-clothed man's killing intent. Their hearts began to beat like drums. What are you afraid of? He's just one person. Brothers, charge! There was someone who did not know death. He gave a loud shout before charging forward while waving a wooden stick and charged forward with a wooden stick. The black-clothed man didn't even look at the ruffian, nor did he see him move. He only saw the man's sleeve move slightly, and the ruffian with the stick suddenly flew through the air as if he had been hit by something. Blood sprayed out of his mouth as he flew through the air. When he landed on the ground, his body twitched a few times before he stopped moving. Chen said, "Chen. Truly. Truly." Even though she knew in her heart that this man in black who came from the sky to save her was also a weasel paying respects to a chicken and didn't have any good intentions, she was still shocked by the man in black's unfathomable martial arts. Chen sword, Chen Ning's words. Chen. I king. Ning. Someone's dead. Run. Everyone, quickly run. Chapter 100. The only thing left on the ground was the pig-head pockmarked face and the ruffian who had been beaten to death by the black-clothed man. Master, what a good move, the universe-hiding sleeve. The blue-clothed youth Xiao Si came out from the corner of the alley and smiled as he walked over. He gave the black-clothed man a thumbs up and praised him. Although his words were to flatter the black-clothed man, they were also meant for Chen Ning to hear. The black-clothed man gave a cold snort and coldly looked at Xiao Si. Xiao Si immediately knew that his flattery had failed. He closed his mouth and lowered his head. While the black-clothed man was not paying attention, he secretly stuck out his tongue. This one has come late to save you, causing you to be startled. The black-clothed man turned around and faced Chen Ning. His voice was very calm and did not rise or fall. His voice was a bit deep, it was very magnetic and very pleasant to listen to. But somehow, the words that came out were very dry and did not have any warmth at all. His figure was tall and slender. When he slightly lowered his head to look at her, it gave her a kind of pressure that made it hard for her to breathe. Chen Ning couldn't help curling her lips. She took a step back and wanted to avoid the pressure that was being released from his body. No. This black-clothed hero appeared at the right time, not late at all. It really was just right. She said with a smile that did not reach her eyes. Her eyes glanced over at the corner of the alley and she gave a sarcastic smile as she said, "Actually, the view from that position is not very good. Next time the hero can look at the play from a different angle and you will be able to see it more clearly." Although the black-clothed man had appeared in her most dangerous moment and saved her and Xiao Ru, she did not feel the slightest bit of gratitude in her heart. Instead, she felt that it was very sarcastic and funny. From the moment she saw the black-clothed man appear, she had already guessed that he and the one called Xiao Si had arrived a long time ago, but they did not make a move. They just hid in the corner and watched as those ruffians humiliated the two defenseless girls. It was not until the last moment that the black-clothed man appeared in front of her like a savior and helped her get rid of those ruffians. This move was called the hero saving the beauty, but if it was said in a bad way, it would be taking advantage of others. If it was any other girl in this situation, they would definitely be filled with gratitude towards the black-clothed man. But Chen Ning was not that easy to trick. She could see through the black-clothed man's intentions with a single glance. How could there be any gratitude towards this man? There was only disdain. As soon as she finished speaking, Xiao Si's face turned red. He immediately lowered his head, not daring to look at Chen Ning. His heart was filled with complaints about his master. Why didn't he save her earlier? In the end, he didn't get any benefits and was instead embarrassed by this girl to the point he couldn't even raise his head. Although the black-clothed man was expressionless, a trace of embarrassment flashed across his ink-black eyes. He could not help but cover his mouth and cough softly. He never would have thought that Chen Ning would see through him. Moreover, she had pointed it out without any hesitation. His face couldn't help but feel hot, as if he had been slapped in the face. "Xiao Xiao," the black-clothed man and said. "Xiao Xiao 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 Yun, Qian Duo Duo. You are Qian Duo Duo, young master." Xiao Ru came back to her senses from her fright. She saw the black-clothed man with a look of pleasant surprise. Chapter 101. Chen Ning knit her brows and snappily said in a low voice, "I know it's him, I'm not blind." Xiao Ru's mind was pure, she did not hear the displeasure in Chen Ning's voice at all. She looked at the black-clothed man and couldn't stop smiling. She had a very good impression of this richly endowed man. "Young Master Qian, last time you paid for us at the restaurant, we didn't even have time to thank you. I never thought that you would save my young miss from these bad people again. You really are a good person," she said in a straightforward manner. "Good person?" Chen Ning gave a snort. What kind of good person was he? He was just a villain that took advantage of others. The black-clothed man couldn't help rubbing his nose. He had never been called a good person before and he did not want to be a good person, nor did he have any good intentions. The reason why he saved them was because he had a purpose. Yes, what you said couldn't be more right. My master is a very good person. He helps those in need, gives generously, punishes evil. The good deeds he has done are innumerable. Is your name Xiao Ru? This name is really nice. Xiao Si giggled as he walked forward, trying to get close to Xiao Ru. He did not dare talk to Chen Ning because she was like a hedgehog when she opened her mouth, making people feel pain all over. Compared to Chen Ning, the innocent Xiao Ru was much cuter. How could Xiao Ru guess what he was thinking? Hearing him praise her, she thought it was sincere and gave a sweet smile. "That's right, I'm called Xiao Ru. What's your name?" Xiao Si replied with a smile, "I'm called Xiao Si." Xiao Si, your name is very easy to remember." "That's right, are you young Master Qian Duoduo's manservant?" Xiao Ru clapped her hands and said with a smile. She saw that Xiao Si was around the same age as her. He was clean and handsome, and he had a smile on his face. She already had a good impression of him in her heart. Chen Ning couldn't help rolling her eyes. This blue-clothed Xiao Si looked like a harmless little brat with a single glance. He was exactly the same as his master. Xiao Ru did not have her guard up, so she would suffer a large loss sooner or later. She was too lazy to remind Xiao Ru. She would let this silly girl learn from her mistakes. Young Master Qian Duo. Hearing what Xiao Ru called him, Xiao Si was very happy. He secretly looked at his master and saw that his master's chin was tight. His eyes were dark and filled with a cold glow. My master is not surnamed Qian, why do you call him Qian Duo? Xiao Si asked despite knowing the answer. Because my master is not Qian Duo. Xiao didn't even think before saying this. As expected, Xiao Si saw his master's face turn as black as the bottom of a pot and he fiercely glared at him. He hurriedly lowered his head and made a frightened expression, but in his heart, he was overjoyed. This silly girl took the bait as soon as I teased her. Chen Ning was so angry that she wanted to stuff Xiao Ru's mouth with a piece of cloth. She also glared at Xiao Si. Ning, Xiao Chen SSS, Xiao people, and said and. Ning, SSSS. Xiao, is his SSS, Chin, QT, Chen Ning felt that the black-clothed man and the blue-clothed Xiao Si were not good people. Especially the black-clothed man, his entire body was filled with a dangerous and cold aura. When you were besieged and humiliated, it was my master who saved you, but you didn't even say a word of thanks. Instead, you mocked and ridiculed my master. Did you think that those hooligans were sent by my master? Of Chen of Chen of. See, Ning, Chen of Ning of the of Ning is, she think if she would. When Chen Ning heard this, her lips curled into a smile. That smile was filled with a hint of mockery. Who said that a woman has to be reasonable? I'm not reasonable, so what can you do? You. Xiao Si almost fainted from her words. Chapter 103. Xiao Si's aura instantly disappeared. He shrunk his neck and said, No. It's nothing. Miss, please do as you please. Chen Ning gave a cold laugh and turned to leave. She did not want to provoke this black-clothed man who was releasing a dangerous and cold aura, but that did not mean that the dog beside him could order her around. Who would have thought that when she had just taken 2 steps, a gust of wind would suddenly blow past her ear? She heard a kacha sound and a parasol tree on the side of the road suddenly snapped. The broken tree trunk was right in front of Chen Ning. Xiao Ru gave a surprised cry and took a step back. Her face was filled with panic as she pulled on Chen Ning's sleeve and shouted, It's thunder. It's thunder. Chen Ning angrily slapped her, Look clearly, it's not thunder, it's someone going crazy. She turned around and coldly said to the black-clothed man, Is this sir trying to show off his martial arts? You're blocking my way, what is the meaning of this? Although she didn't have any expression on her face, she was extremely shocked in her heart. This was because the black-clothed man was 20 meters away from her, but with just the strength of his palm, he was able to break a tree trunk that was as big as the mouth of a bowl. She had only seen this kind of kung fu in myths and legends. If the other side's palm had not been aimed at the tree trunk and had been aimed at her head, she believed that her head would have already turned into a rotten watermelon. Xiao Si is right. This one has saved the miss, so it is not right for the miss to just leave like this. The black-clothed man finally spoke. His voice was low, but it was very pleasant to listen to. With such a good voice, why didn't he go sing on the streets and instead pester her? Chen Ning muttered in her stomach. She knew that she could not hide from him. All right, she also wanted to know why this man was pestering her like a ghost. She raised her eyebrows and said with a faint smile, Then why don't you tell me what I should do to make sense? Could it be that you want me to repay you with my body? You're dreaming. Hearing the words, repay you with my body, Xiaoxi did not even think about it before blurting it out. Wanting to repay his master with her body, who did she think she was? In her dreams. The black-clothed man also knit his brows and revealed a look of disgust. Chen Ning smiled at Xiaoxi. Relax, I don't have any interest in your master. Don't have any interest. Xiaoxi was shocked and his eyes popped out. The black-clothed man's eyes also sunk. Of course not. You want me to repay him with my body. Of course I don't have any interest. He wants me to repay him with my body. Xiaoxi's mouth was wide open as he looked at Chen Ning like he was looking at a monster. This is really interesting. He had never thought that there would be a girl in this world who disdained his master. He didn't expect to meet one today. The black-clothed man's eyes were already filled with so much anger. Although he didn't like Chen Ning at all, the other side saying that she didn't like him made him feel very suffocated. He was very unhappy. Miss, you can rest assured. You don't like me, and I don't like you either. The black-clothed man's voice was low and hoarse, but it carried a sense of disdain. That's great. The black-clothed man's voice was low and hoarse, but it was filled with disdain. That's great. Chen Ning smiled. She had a relieved look on her face which made the black-clothed man's heart even more depressed. Chapter 104. Since neither of us likes the other, then this miss won't stay here any longer. I don't want to be an eyesore to your distinguished self. My maid and I will be leaving, so can your distinguished self stop chopping down trees to scare us? These flowers and trees also have feelings, not to mention it wouldn't be good if you accidentally hit a child, right? Chen Ning giggled and turned to leave after saying this. Wait. The black-clothed man suddenly said. His figure flashed and he appeared in front of Chen Ning. What are you doing? Chen Ning's nose almost bumped into his chest. She quickly stopped and angrily looked up at him. This gaze actually collided with a pair of eyes that were as deep as 1,000 feet. It was like the ever-changing deep sea with turbulent undercurrents. He just calmly looked at her, but his deep eyes had a strong attraction that made it impossible for her to look away. Her heart suddenly began to beat uncontrollably. Miss, I want to invite you to a meal. The man's thin lips opened and he slowly said. Chen Ning's eyes couldn't help falling onto his lips. The shape of his lips was very good, and the curve was beautiful and strong. When he was not speaking, his lips were tightly pursed, and he had a dignified air about him. But when he opened his mouth, it was like the ice had thawed and the spring flowers had bloomed. His lips slightly curled up and it seemed like he was smiling even though he wasn't smiling. His serious expression instantly became much gentler. The ice in Chen Ning's heart seemed to be thawed by this spring breeze from his lips. You want to invite me to a meal? She raised her long eyelashes. The black-clothed man's words were like gold, each one was very short. After he gave a sound, he turned around and walked away. He did not give Chen Ning a chance to refuse and he did not even look back at Chen Ning. It was as if he knew that she would agree. Chen Ning bit her lips. She really wanted to turn around and leave, going in the opposite direction of the man. But her footsteps couldn't help following behind the man. This man's aura was too strong. She could not guess what the consequences would be if she refused his proposal. Wasn't it just a meal? It wasn't like she would lose a piece of meat, so what was the big deal? She comforted herself in her heart. Xiao Ru's face was filled with excitement as she bounced up and down beside her. This is great, young miss. This servant's stomach has been rumbling for a long time. Since we lost our money, this servant thought that we would have to go hungry. I never thought that young Master Money would be this generous and actually invite us to a meal. Chen Ning stared at her and said in a low voice, "In a while, you better behave yourself. You're only allowed to eat and you're not allowed to talk, do you understand?" Xiao Ru stuck out her tongue, "I heard you. Young miss, this servant will pretend to be mute and won't say a single word." Xiao Si followed behind the black-clothed man, occasionally looking back at the Chen Ning master and servant. He had a sneaky smile on his face. Chen Ning's heart was filled with anger when she saw this. This stinky Xiao Si was just like his master, crafty and not a good thing at all. From the corner of her eyes, she saw Xiao Ru smiling at Xiao Si like a blossoming flower, revealing a row of white teeth. That carefree appearance made her even angrier. "Don't worry about me. No matter what he asks you, you have to say that you don't know. Do you understand?" Chen Ning ordered. "No matter what he asks you, you have to say you don't know, do you understand?" Chen Ning ordered. Chapter 105. Remember, no matter what he says to this servant will answer that I don't know. Xiao Ru honestly nodded. She looked at Xiao Si's back and couldn't help whispering, "Young miss, this servant thinks that the two of them are very good. Why does it seem like you don't like them? What do you think is good about them?" Chen Ning tilted her head to look at Xiao Ru, feeling a little curious. "Wu, that rich young master is rich and generous, and he seems to be very strong. With a single move, he was able to chase away that group of bad guys and save us. There's also Xiao Si. He looks very good when he smiles. His eyes are like crescent moons in the sky. This servant likes the way he smiles." Xiao Ru replied without any hesitation. The two of them answered one-on-one, not knowing that their words were all heard by the two men walking in front of them. Xiao Si's eyes sparkled and his lips couldn't stop curling up. His eyes were like crescent moons. Why didn't he know? No, he had to look at himself in the mirror when he went back and see if he looked like a crescent moon. The black-clothed man revealed a faint smile as he looked at Xiao Si. His eyes seemed to be thinking of something. "We're here." He stopped walking. "Tai floor." Chen Ning looked at the signboard hanging high up in front of the restaurant. There were 3 large golden words on it and she couldn't help being a little stunned. She never thought that the black-clothed man would choose this place to treat them to a meal. The Tai floor in front of them was completely different from the first time they came here. In front of the restaurant, there was a long line of people that stretched from the main entrance to the end of the street. They couldn't see the end of it with a single glance. There were even 2 waiters standing at the entrance, constantly explaining to the customers who came to eat, "This restaurant is full, please line up at the back." Looking in from the open door, the large hall was already filled to the brim. There were even several tables that had been temporarily added, filling up the entire place. The waiters were moving back and forth, sweating profusely. However, their faces were glowing and they were filled with excitement. The shopkeeper was sitting behind the counter, making clanking noises on his abacus. His mouth was grinning from ear to ear, not closing at all. Opposite the floor of Supreme Harmony was the capital's #1 restaurant, called the Drunken Immortal House. Normally, the number of customers wasn't much worse than the floor of Supreme Harmony, but looking at it today, it was deserted. There wasn't even a single customer in the hall. The waiters were yawning in boredom and the shopkeeper was puffing his cheeks as he stared at the floor of Supreme Harmony across from him, sulking. Why are there suddenly so many customers in Tai floor? Xiao Ru saw the scene in front of her and her chin almost fell off. For this question, you'll have to ask your young Mississippi. The one who answered her was actually the man in black who had been silent all the way. Xiao Si, Chen looked at Ning. Chen Ning gave 2 low coughs and rubbed her chin. Why did the Tai floor suddenly become so popular? She was well aware of this. Xiao Chen. You've graced us with your presence and I didn't go out to welcome you. Please forgive me, forgive me. The shopkeeper of Tai Floor looked up and saw Chen Ning and the others standing at the door. His eyes lit up. He was overjoyed as he came out of the door and warmly greeted them. His eyes only looked at Chen Ning and he completely ignored the other three people. Chapter 106. Not at all, not at all. Speaking of this, the reason why our store's business is so good is all because of the 4 recipes written by this miss. These 4 dishes, as long as a customer has eaten them, they will all praise them. 1 to 10, 10 to 100, in just 2 days, they have already spread throughout the entire capital. Now everyone has come to ask for these 4 dishes. Miss, you really are an important person to our store. The shopkeeper's smile bloomed like a flower. Oh, your chef has already made these 4 dishes. Then we have to try them, but with how good our business is, there might not be any seats left. We should come back another day. Chen Ning looked at the long line outside the door. There are seats, there are seats. This miss is an important person to our Tai Floor, there will be seats no matter when you come. Oh, there are also these 3 guests. Please come in, please come in. The shopkeeper personally led the way and brought the 4 of them to the 3rd floor. There was only one room on the 3rd floor and it was specially prepared for the most important guests. It was decorated elegantly, with a hint of extravagance. After the 4 of them sat down, the shopkeeper warmly greeted Chen Ning, trying to curry favor with her. The black-clothed man was impatient as he coldly stared at him. The shopkeeper suddenly felt a chill run down his back. He shrunk back his neck and looked at the closed window. His heart was filled with doubt. The window wasn't open, so where did this cold wind come from? Xiao Si couldn't help gritting his teeth. This shopkeeper was truly an idiot. Didn't he see that his master's eyes were so cold that they could freeze people to death? He actually dared to pester this girl and nag at her. Coo. Shopkeeper, you've said enough. Quickly go and serve the dishes. Xiao Si couldn't help saying. He saw the black-clothed man's slender fingers clench into a fist. He decided to save the shopkeeper before his master broke his nose. Oh, yes, this little one has spoken too much. This little one will immediately go and serve the dishes. The shopkeeper finally came back to his senses. When he met the black-clothed man's eyes, his body turned numb like he had been frozen. So terrifying. He did not dare to stay any longer. He quickly excused himself from Chen Ning and left. The room was finally quiet. For a while, no one said a word. When Chen Ning looked up, she could see the black-clothed man sitting across from her. He did not say anything and just quietly sat there. There was no expression on his face at all, but his black eyes were staring right at her. There was a dark glow in his eyes that made it hard for people to see through him. That oppressive pressure came again. Although there was a table between them, Chen Ning still felt like she couldn't breathe. She originally wanted to study the man's facial expression and see through his mind, but she felt uncomfortable under his undisguised gaze. She couldn't help but avoid his eyes and not look him in the eyes. Are you afraid of me? The man suddenly said. Who said that? Chen Ning reflexively replied. Why don't you dare look at me? The man stared at her. I dawn of you. Chen Ning was provoked by him and she looked up to meet the man's gaze. There was a bewitching power in his eyes that was as deep and unpredictable as the ocean. It was more like a surging tide that surrounded her from all directions. As soon as she met his gaze, her heart suddenly began to beat uncontrollably, like a cheerful little deer galloping on the grassland in her chest. Chapter 107. The man did not even blink as he looked at her with a serious gaze. She could almost see her own reflection in his eyes. Xiao Si, leave. The man looked at Chen Ning, but his words were directed at Xiao Si. The three people in the room were all stunned. Xiao Si couldn't help digging his ears as he looked at his master with a wronged expression. The show had just begun and his master wanted to kick him out. He was not willing. Don't make me say it a second time. The man's voice was very calm. Xiao Si immediately became alert and quickly said, "Yes, master." When he left, he reached out and pulled Xiao Ru out. Xiao Ru was about to struggle when Xiao Si said, "My master doesn't like people disturbing him when he's talking. Otherwise he will be unhappy, very, very unhappy." Xiao Ru immediately obediently stopped struggling. She was a little worried as she looked at the closed door and said, "Your master wouldn't bully my young miss, right?" What a joke, how could that be possible? Xiao Si gave a cold laugh. What kind of person is my master? He would never bully a woman. I'm actually worried about my master. Hey, your young miss wouldn't bully my master, right? He suddenly leaned in close to Xiao Ru and his eyes turned into crescent moons. I don't know. Xiao Ru suddenly remembered what the young miss had told her. She couldn't talk to Xiao Si and she had to say she didn't know no matter what he asked. Hey, which family's young miss is your young miss from? What is her surname and what is her name? Xiao Si did as Chen Ning expected and prepared to get information from Xiao Ru. I don't know. Xiao Ru shook her head. Then where does your family live? You should at least know this, right? Xiao Si asked, not giving up. I don't know. Xiao Ru continued to shake her head. Willow Alley. Ginkgo Alley. Green Dragon Street. I don't know, I still don't know. Are you people from the capital city? I don't know. Xiao Si asked 17 or 18 questions in one breath, but Xiao Ru still said she didn't know. Xiao Si was so angry that his eyes popped out. He had thought that Xiao Ru was simple and honest, so he would be able to get a lot of information from her mouth. He never thought that this honest girl would listen to her young miss and not say a single word. In the room, there was only Chen Ning and the black-clothed man. She suddenly felt uncomfortable. The man's burning gaze seemed to want to swallow her up. She averted her eyes and didn't look at him anymore. I admit defeat. I admit that your eyes are bigger than mine, she said lightly. The man in black choked. Did she think that he was playing a game with her just now? Whose eyes are bigger? Who knew how many people kept quiet out of fear under his gaze? Not to mention looking at him, they didn't even dare to stand straight in front of him. But her reaction was indifferent. Could it be that she really wasn't afraid of him? Neither of them spoke again. A layer of faint awkwardness permeated the room. The black-clothed man did not speak and Chen Ning did not plan on taking the initiative to speak because she could not think of anything to talk about with him. Come to think of it, they were strangers who had only met 3 times. They didn't even know each other's names. Just like that, they sat face to face, staring at each other. How boring. Chen Ning decided to quietly finish this meal. If he wanted to be a mute and not speak, then she would pretend that he didn't exist. Chapter 108. Chen Ning took a deep breath and leaned against the window to look at the scenery of the capital city. Although she didn't turn around, she could feel the man's gaze on her, because that oppressive feeling that made it hard for her to breathe came again. Her back turned stiff and she finally couldn't hold it back. She turned around and met his deep eyes. Am I that good looking? Her lips curled up and she revealed a sarcastic smile. She knew that her current appearance was not good looking at all. Her yellow face was normal and no one would look at her if she walked down the street. But this man was still looking at her. You are not good looking. She had thought that the man would not say anything, but after being silent for a while, he actually replied. He was really direct. Chen Ning smiled and was not angry. Why do you keep looking at me if I'm not good looking? The man closed his mouth this time and did not say anything else. He did not know why he kept staring at her. Her face was not good looking at all. Her skin was yellow and her facial features were only normal. Who knew how many outstanding beauties and devastatingly beautiful girls had appeared in front of him, but he hadn't even looked at them directly, yet his gaze had been firmly attracted by her. Perhaps it was because of her pair of eyes. The man's eyes fell onto her face again. Her eyes were very good. They were clear and bright, just like a pair of purple grapes soaked in mist. They were incomparably lively, making him look at them again and again. He did not feel in the least that it was embarrassing to stare so fixedly at a girl. Chen Ning suddenly felt her cheeks become a bit warm. She gave a gentle cough and prepared to find something to say to break this awkward atmosphere and divert the man's gaze. You. As soon as she opened her mouth, the door was suddenly pushed open and Xiao Si charged in. Master, something has happened. He came to the black-clothed man's side and whispered a few words. The black-clothed man's eyes turned dark and he suddenly stood up. His eyes were like an arrow as he looked right at Chen Ning. Chen Ning's heart tightened as she saw the black-clothed man walk over to her. I have something to do, we'll talk another day. After the black-clothed man said this, he suddenly jumped out of the window. His black robe fluttered in the air like a black butterfly. Chen Ning couldn't help being stunned. Miss, this is the gold my master gave you. Xiao Si also jumped out with the black-clothed man. At the same time, he threw out a bag of money which fell right into Chen Ning's hands. Returning to the king's palace, Chen Ning had been thinking the entire time. What kind of background did the black-clothed man have? Why did she meet him every time she left the palace? Or was it that they had some fate? Once she thought of the fate, her heart skipped a beat and she immediately spat 3 times. Pay, pay, pay. Pay, pay. Xiao Ru, who was concentrating on counting the gold in the purse, was shocked. Her hand trembled and the purse fell to the ground. She quickly picked it up and held it in her arms like she was holding a treasure. Young miss, that young master money is really good. He actually gave us such a large amount of gold. From now on, we don't have to show our faces to earn money anymore. She was so happy that she was beaming with joy. Chen Ning shook her head. No, we can't touch this gold. Chapter 109. But this is an ill-gotten gain. Chen Ning confidently said, who knows what kind of person that lots of money is and where his gold came from? What if he is a great thief and this money was obtained from killing people? Can you spend it in peace? Xiao Ru shivered and quickly shook her head. Give me the bag of money. Chen Ning reached out her hand. Xiao Ru immediately placed the bag of money in her hands. The bag of money was very heavy and it was filled with ingots of gold ingots. It was not cheap and Chen Ning believed that this money was enough for a normal person to live their entire life. This lots of money, he was truly generous. But she did not plan on touching this money and did not want to spend a single coin. She placed several gold ingots on the table and under the candlelight, they shined with a golden light. It was very attractive and Xiao Ru was dazzled just looking at it. Chen Ning looked over the empty bag of money, trying to find some clues from it. She found that people in this era were used to leaving marks on their personal items. For example, Zhao Ergo's clothes had a Zhao word embroidered on it. But even after she turned the bag of money inside out, she could not find a single mark. She quickly lost interest in the bag of money and lazily threw it over to Xiao Ru. Pack it all up. For several days, Chu Xiaoyang did not take a single step into the intoxicated flower pavilion. Chen Baiyun could not help panicking. Thinking of Chu Xiaoyang's back that day when he left without looking back, her heart filled with guilt. In this palace, the only thing she could rely on was His Highness' favor. If she lost His Highness' favor, what qualifications did she have to fight for the position of the legal princess? Lan Xiang, where has His Highness been staying these past few days? What Qin Baiyun was worried about the most was that while she was pregnant, another woman would take advantage of her. There were countless beautiful maids in the king's palace, and Chu Xiaoyang was young and full of blood. How could he endure an empty room every night? Reporting to the concubine consort, His Highness has been staying in a small courtyard in the Peach Blossom Cove. Lan Xiang carefully replied. Last time, because she had accidentally farted, His Highness had left in a huff. The concubine consort had insisted that it was her fart that made His Highness leave, so she had ruthlessly taught her a lesson. She felt wronged in her heart. It was clearly His Highness that disliked the smell of your fart, so he turned against you. But you had to blame it on this servant. But as a servant, she did not dare argue and could only obediently allow Qin Baiyun to scold her. Adding in the fact that Chu Xiaoyang had not shown himself in the past few days, Qin Baiyun's temper was not good. She had smashed several antique vases and porcelain tea sets, and she would occasionally use her as a punching bag. So, she was very careful when answering Qin Baiyun, afraid that if she was careless, she would be scolded and beaten. Peach Blossom Little House. Qin Baiyun knit her brows and asked, "What kind of place is that?" Qin Baiyun asked. Reporting to the concubine consort, "This servant has just heard about it from someone else. I've heard that the Peach Blossom Cove is His Highness' favorite place. There are many peach trees planted there, especially when the peach blossoms bloom in March. It is simply beautiful. But His Highness has never allowed anyone to take half a step into the Peach Blossom Cove. Each peach tree there is personally taken care of by His Highness. This servant has also heard that there was a little girl who had just entered the palace last year who did not know that it was a forbidden area. She accidentally walked into the Peach Blossom Cove and saw that the peach blossoms were very beautiful, so she picked one. In the end, His Highness gave the order to cut off her hands and legs and kicked her out of the palace." Chapter 110. Woo, so it's like this. Qin Baiyun felt a chill run down her spine when she heard this, but she relaxed her heart. Since the Peach Blossom Cove was Chu Xiaoyang's forbidden area and no one dared to step in, naturally there wouldn't be any girls with ulterior motives that wanted to use this chance to curry favor with him. Has His Highness been living in the Peach Blossom Cove? Has he been attending morning court these past few days? She then asked. Yes, concubine consort. I've heard from Shao and Zi by His Highness' side that His Highness has been sick ever since he came back from morning court. He hasn't gone to court for several days and he hasn't taken a single step out of the Peach Blossom Cove. Even the food was sent to the Peach Blossom Cove by Shao and Zi. Lan Xiang replied. Qin Baiyun was even more relaxed. A faint smile appeared on her face. Her eyes turned and she suddenly thought of something. Lan Xiang, is there any news of that cheap woman? Before Chu Xiaoyang came, she had been worried about losing his favor every day, completely forgetting about Qin Ning's matter. Now that she thought about it, she had not received any news of the legal princess Qin Ning's death. This servant has not heard any news. Lan Xiang shook her head. She was Qin Baiyun's confidant since she was young, so of course she knew who the cheap woman her master was talking about was. No news. Then she's not dead yet. Qin Baiyun knit her brows. She was leaning against the couch, but she suddenly sat up and a cold glow flashed in her eyes. Lan Xiang, go and prepare some gifts. This concubine wants to visit my good elder sister. Her lips curled into a cold smile. I want to see why she hasn't died yet after suffering such heavy injuries. Qin Ning did not leave the palace for several days. She was afraid that she would meet the black-clothed man and servant once she left. Everyone in the palace knew that the princess consort had angered His Highness and had been taught a fierce lesson by Mother Lin, causing her to suffer heavy injuries. His Highness had given the order not to treat the princess consort's injuries and had left her to fend for herself. This clearly meant that she had lost His Highness' favor. Losing His Highness' favor was equal to losing the favor of everyone in the palace. So there was no servant that would try to please a dying princess consort. In these past few days, other than Qin Ning and her 3 maids, there was no one else that appeared in her courtyard. She was happy with the peace and quiet. She closed the door to the courtyard and chatted and laughed with the 3 maidservants. They played games and leisurely passed the day after day. Today she had slept in and woke up a bit late. She did not even have time to freshen up before Chun Tao came in with a look of panic on her face. "Princess consort, this is bad. Consort Chen is here." Of course she knew that Qin Ning was pretending to be sick. If Qin Baiyun came and saw that the princess consort wasn't injured at all, then it would be a disaster. Qin Ning did not look at all on Qin and Ning's face. She said. With a quick thought, she understood. She smiled and said, "She must be a little impatient because she hasn't received the news of my death for the past few days." Seeing Qin Ning acting as if nothing had happened, Chun Tao anxiously said, "Princess consort, do you want this servant to tell the concubine consort Qin that you are sick and cannot see anyone, sending her away?" Chapter 111. Chun Tao's heart was filled with doubts, but she did not dare disobey Qin Ning's orders. She nodded her head and left. Xiao Ru had just come in with a basin of water to wash her face. Hearing this, her little face turned red and she angrily said, "Young miss, second miss is clearly a weasel paying respects to a chicken, she doesn't have good intentions." Qin Ning couldn't help laughing. She pinched Xiao Ru's cheeks and said with a smile, "Very well said, very eloquent. If you follow me in the future, your knowledge will increase quickly. Who knows, you might even be able to become a scholar next year and become the #1 scholar." Xiao Tao stomped her foot, "Young miss, you still have the mood to make fun of the servant. When the second miss comes in and sees that you are not injured, she will definitely tell His Highness. Don't be afraid, don't be afraid. Come closer." Qin Ning smiled as she pulled Xiao Ru over and whispered a few words into her ear. Xiao Ru's eyes suddenly lit up. Concubine consort, the courtyard in front is where the princess lives. Qin Baiyun stood on the small stone bridge and looked in the direction Lan Xiang was pointing. She gave a contemptuous laugh and her heart became much more comfortable. This place was far and remote and the courtyard was old and broken. If it wasn't for the crooked happiness word on the door, she would have thought it was a servant's house. Compared to her intoxicated flower pavilion, this place couldn't even be compared to a dog kennel. It seemed like in His Highness' heart, that cheap Qin Ning did not have a place at all. The position of King Ding Yuan's princess would fall to her sooner or later. Qin Baiyun revealed a proud smile as her right hand gently placed on her stomach. As long as she could protect the child in her stomach and let him safely fall to the ground, if it was a boy, she would convince His Highness to make him his successor. Her status as a mother would increase because of her son. At that time, how could that cheap Qin Ning compete with her? But she could not wait until the day her child was born. It would be best if Qin Ning died right now. Qin Baiyun staggered as she arrived in front of Qin Ning's courtyard. Seeing that the 2 doors were closed, Lan Xiang was prepared to knock on the door when it suddenly opened from the inside. A delicate-looking maid was standing at the door, bowing down when she saw Qin Baiyun. "This servant Chun Tao greets the concubine consort." Qin Baiyun did not even look at Chun Tao. She used a handkerchief to cover her nose and said in a disgusted voice, "Why does this courtyard smell so bad? It's so bad. How do you servants clean this place? It's as dirty as a pig pen. Where is my elder sister? I heard that she was injured, so this consort brought some gifts to see. Chun Ning, Xiao, and S.'s voice. She remembered Chen Ning's instructions, so she replied in a gentle voice, "My princess consort is heavily injured and can't get up. Concubine consort, please come in, the princess consort will be very happy to see you." Princess. Chen Baiyun couldn't help giving a snort. Once the slut in the room died, the title of princess consort would soon be hers. When she was about to enter the door, a maid suddenly rushed out and shouted in a panicked voice, "Elder sister Chun Tao, this is bad, the princess consort has spat out blood." The maid almost bumped into Chen Baiyun. Chen Baiyun took a step back and a trace of anger flashed across her face as she coldly stared at the maid. Chapter 112. The maid quickly kneeled down. "This servant Xia he is assigned to this courtyard to serve the princess consort." Just now the princess consort suddenly spat out several mouthfuls of blood and this servant was scared. "I wanted to run out and tell elder sister Chun Tao, but I never thought that the consort would suddenly come and accidentally bumped into the consort. I ask for the consort's forgiveness." "You're saying my elder sister spat out blood?" Chen Baiyun did not care about teaching Xia He a lesson. Her attention was completely focused on the words "spat out blood," and her eyes lit up. "That's right. After the princess consort was punished by Mother Lin, her injuries were very serious and she was bedridden. His Highness gave the order not to give the princess consort any medicine, and when the princess consort found out, she was even more heartbroken. She has been crying every day and 2 days ago, she accidentally caught a cold with a high fever. This morning, she actually spat out blood. I'm afraid she won't make it." Xia He kneeled on the ground with snot and tears running down her face. Her voice was filled with tears. Of course, these words came from Chen Ning's instructions. When Chen Baiyun heard this, she couldn't help bursting with joy. Her eyes were filled with joy and she almost couldn't hide it. She spent a lot of effort to force her face down and put on a worried expression. "I never thought that my elder sister would be this sick. She is this consort's blood-related elder sister. I have to go in and see my elder sister." Lan Xiang tried to dissuade her. Consort, this servant said that the princess consort has a cold illness and it said that this illness is very contagious. The consort has a golden jade body and is pregnant, so you should take care of your body. How about you not go in?" Chen Baiyun hesitated for a bit. If she didn't personally see Chen Ning lying on the bed with her last breath, how could she be satisfied? "You talk too much. The princess consort is this consort's blood-related elder sister. She is seriously ill, how could I not visit her? You cheap servant, you are clearly trying to sow discord between us sisters. If you dare say any more, I'll kick you out." She coldly reprimanded Lan Xiang. When Chen Ning in the room heard her dignified and hypocritical words, she almost wanted to applaud her. If it was the original Chen Ning, hearing these words, she would have been moved to tears. The curtain was lifted and Chen Baiyun gracefully walked in with Lan Xiang following behind her. Her eyes looked around the room. The room was decorated very simply. Apart from a table, a few old chairs, and a dressing table, the rest was an unremarkable wooden bed. The dresser was completely empty and there was not a single piece of jewelry. Chen Ning's Qin Queen consort. The colder Chen Ning's place was, the more magnificent her residence seemed. Chu Xiaoyang had spent a lot of money to make every single piece of furniture in her room. Everything she wore, there was nothing that wasn't the best. Compared to Chen Ning's room, it was like heaven and earth. Chen Baiyun's eyes fell onto the wooden bed. There was a white curtain hanging on the bed that was half open and there was a young girl lying on the bed. Looking at that familiar figure, it was Chen Ning. She was facing the bed, so her face could not be seen clearly. They could only hear her coughing. Down, Xia, Xiao Chen's Ling, consort. Xia is. Consort. That cheap woman really didn't die. Chen Baiyun's eyes narrowed and a trace of hatred appeared in her eyes. Her long nails dug into her palms. Chapter 113. Chen Baiyun spoke in a soft voice. Her voice was filled with deep concern, but there was not a single trace of hatred in it. But when she was 3 feet away from the bed, she stopped. If the other side really had a cold, she would be afraid of it, so how could she come close? Hypocritical. When Xiao Ru saw this, she angrily cursed in her heart. She remembered Chen Ning's orders and said while crying, "The young miss can't do it. She has been coughing and has already spat out several mouthfuls of blood. The water in the basin has been dyed red by the young miss' blood." She pointed at the basin in front of the bed. Chen Baiyun looked over and saw that the water in the basin had turned bright red. "Second miss, you are the concubine consort, so His Highness loves you the most. His Highness will listen to whatever you say, so please help the young miss ask His Highness to find a doctor for the young miss. The young miss is your blood-related sister, so you will definitely ask for mercy for the young miss. I'm begging you, second miss." Xiao Ru cried while wiping her eyes with a piece of ginger in her sleeve. Her eyes were swollen like 2 peaches. Seeing Xiao Ru like this, the doubts in Chen Baiyun's heart disappeared. She knew that Xiao Ru was an honest girl that would never lie, so she completely believed her words. "All right, then I'll immediately report to His Highness and ask for mercy for elder sister. I'll have His Highness find a doctor for elder sister." Chen Baiyun gave a weak reply and quickly turned to leave. Seeing how sick Chen Ning was, she did not dare stay any longer. Who would have thought that at this time, Chen Ning would suddenly give 2 coughs and turn over? "Is little sister Yun for here?" she said in a weak voice. She covered her mouth and gave a low cough. Chen Baiyun suddenly stopped moving and secretly cursed in her heart. Damn it! Why did this slut have to wake up at this time of all times? She couldn't help but turn around and reveal a surprised and happy expression. "Elder sister, you're awake." Little sister was worried to death. Little sister was about to ask His Highness for mercy and find a doctor for you. Ze, isn't this clumsy acting a bit too exaggerated? If it was in the modern era, no one would even use her for a small role. Chen Ning could not understand how the original owner had been tricked by her fake acting. She had always treated her like a good little sister and treated her with all her heart, but in the end, she had been sent to the Yellow Springs by her trusted little sister. She, Chen Baiyun, could act, but she wasn't bad either. She wanted to see who had better acting skills. "It's all because this elder sister's body is disappointing and my temper is stubborn," which made Prince angry. "That's why I ended up like this. It's rare that younger sister is willing to come and visit me in my hour of need. Elder sister is really grateful." Cough cough cough, cough cough cough. Chen Ning did not finish and suddenly began coughing non-stop. Xiao Rof Xiao Ru Xiao Ru. Chen Baiyun's eyes couldn't help revealing a look of disgust. Seeing her coughing like this, it wasn't a cold, but rather tuberculosis. She couldn't stay any longer and just wanted to run away. Chen Ning had already seen her expression. She thought to herself, "The more you want to leave, the more I won't let you leave." She suddenly lowered her head and gave a heavy cough. A mouthful of phlegm came out and it just happened to land on Chen Baiyun's dress. "Ah!" Chen Baiyun let out a shocked cry as her beautiful face turned pale. It was like she had not been spat on by Chen Ning, but rather bitten by a poisonous snake. "So sorry. It's all elder sister's fault. I've dirted little sister's dress. Chapter 114. This time Chen Ning did not spit out phlegm, rather she spat out a mouthful of blood. When it fell to the ground, it was a bright red. Little sister, I won't hide it from you, elder sister has tuberculosis. You don't need to ask His Highness to find a doctor for me. Even if an immortal descends to the mortal world, I won't be able to cure my illness. Chen Ning finally stopped coughing. She wiped the blood from her lips and gave a long sigh. Her face was pale and she couldn't breathe, looking like she was on the verge of death. What? It really is tuberculosis. Chen Baiyun's eyes almost popped out. Little sister, elder sister knows you have a good heart. Elder sister has tuberculosis and no one dares to come see me, only you care about your sisterly feelings. Cool. Chen Ning did not even finish before she began to cough again. Chen Baiyun took a few steps back and covered her mouth and nose with her sleeve. She really hated herself right now. Why didn't she listen to Lan Xiang's advice and come see this tuberculosis ghost? She had even dirted her dress with her phlegm. She stared at the phlegm on her dress and felt a wave of nausea. With a "bu" sound, she almost vomited. Elder sister, this little sister's body isn't feeling well, so I won't be staying any longer. These are the gifts that His Highness has given to little sister, this little sister has specially given them to elder sister. I hope that elder sister will recover soon, so little sister will be leaving first. Chen Baiyun quickly said a few words and then signaled for Lan Xiang to leave the gifts behind. She turned around and left. Her steps were fast, like there was a tiger chasing behind her. When she was about to leave, she almost tripped over the threshold. It was a good thing that Lan Xiang caught her in time, but she was already covered in a cold sweat. Chen Ning secretly found this funny. She added oil to the fire by saying, "Little sister, the phlegm on this dress. You have to wash it when you go back, otherwise. It's easy for you to get tuberculosis like elder sister." Cool. Chen Baiyun's body turned stiff. She felt like her pink peony dress was crawling with caterpillars. Wearing it on her body was very uncomfortable and she wanted to immediately take it off. It's elder sister that dirted little sister's dress. Why don't little sister take it off and let Xiao Ru help you wash it? If little sister doesn't mind, how about you wear elder sister's dress? Chen Ning said. No, there's no need. Chen Baiyun said in a stiff voice. She didn't even look back as she walked out of the courtyard. Then she impatiently took off her dress and threw it to the ground. The hatred in her heart was monstrous. She turned around and stared at the dilapidated courtyard door, the anger in her eyes almost spurting out. B*TCH. Damn slut. She had actually dirted her favorite dress. She still remembered the first time she wore this pink peony dress. Chu Xiaoyang's eyes kept staring at her and the passion in his eyes almost melted her. She had deliberately worn this dress because she wanted to show off in front of Chen Ning, showing off how well His Highness treated her and angering the other side half to death. But all her efforts were in vain. Without waiting for her to boast, she was dirted by Chen Ning's spit. Chen Baiyun was so angry that she almost crushed her teeth. Chen Ning, I curse you to die a horrible death. She angrily swore in her heart. In her mind, she pictured Chen Ning's weak appearance, continuously spitting out blood. It looked like she wouldn't be able to live past tonight and her heart instantly felt much better. Perhaps she would be able to wait for the good news tomorrow. But what if this cheap person was lucky and didn't die? Chapter 115. Lan Xiang, pick up the dress and come with me. Yes, concubine consort. Lan Xiang was afraid of touching the dress and getting infected, but she did not dare disobey Chen Baiyun's orders. She carefully picked up the dress, being careful not to touch any dirty places as she followed behind Chen Baiyun. Lan Xiang, find someone to ask for directions to the Peach Blossom Cove. Lan Xiang shivered and involuntarily said, Peach Blossom Cove. Concubine consort, you want to go to the Peach Blossom Cove? Of course. This concubine has not seen His Highness in several days and has missed him. His Highness must also miss this concubine. Chen Baiyun proudly raised her brows and curled her lips into a smile. It was like she could already see Chu Xiaoyang's surprised and happy expression when he saw her suddenly appear in front of him. But. Lan Xiang thought of the legend everyone was talking about and hesitated. What are you afraid of? His Highness' favorite person is me. Seeing me, he will only be happy and will not be angry. Chen Baiyun was filled with confidence. Lan Xiang did not dare say anything else. She asked the servant next to her for directions and led Chen Baiyun to the Peach Blossom Cove. Seeing the gates of the Peach Blossom Cove in the distance, Lan Xiang's legs began to turn soft. She trembled and did not dare approach. Chen Baiyun stared at her and scolded, useless thing. Lan Xiang lowered her head and did not dare make a sound. Chen Baiyun relied on Chu Xiaoyang's usual pampering, so she was not afraid at all. She raised her chin and walked in front. When she came closer, she saw that the two peach tree gates were half open and she could hear people talking inside. She couldn't help being a bit stunned and stopping her steps. Her heart was filled with doubt. Didn't that girl Lan Xiang say that His Highness never let anyone take a single step into the Peach Blossom Cove? Why were there people talking in the courtyard? She softened her steps and approached slowly, step by step. She walked noiselessly to the door and peeped in through the half-open door. She saw a brilliant red glow and a large peach blossom forest in full bloom. As the wind blew, flower petals fell to the ground. Under the peach blossom trees, she saw Chu Xiaoyang with a single glance. He did not have his hair tied up and his long hair hung down. He had a lazy expression, his long eyebrows slanted, and his phoenix eyes filled with power. Just a single glance made her heart beat faster. All the maids in the palace are here. Chu Xiaoyang's clear voice slowly sounded. Yes, Your Highness. This servant has gathered all the maids in the prince's mansion according to your orders. Even the ones in the kitchen are among them, except for, standing in front of Chu Xiaoyang was a middle-aged man around 40 years old. Chen Baiyun recognized him. He was housekeeper Su, who had taken care of the king's palace for many years. In the king's palace, his position was not below Mother Lin's and he had Chu Xiaoyang's trust. What? Chu Xiaochu raised his brow. Other than the maids by the princess and the concubine consort's side, this servant did not dare disturb them. If Your Highness has any orders, this servant will immediately bring them over. Housekeeper Su respectfully replied. No need. When Chu Xiaoyang heard the word princess, his heart filled with displeasure. All of you, raise your heads, he said coldly. Chen Baiyun finally saw that the courtyard was filled with maids kneeling on the ground. They were all unmarried young girls, thin and fat, with a total of 40-50 of them. Her heart suddenly filled with a bad premonition. Her right hand unconsciously clenched into a fist and her long nails dug deep into her palm, but she did not feel any pain. Chapter 116. They all raised their beautiful faces like spring flowers. Some boldly looked straight at him, some gave him flirtatious glances, and some had affectionate eyes. Chen Baiyun's eyes almost spat out flames seeing this. This group of sluts, these foxes. They wanted to climb up to the dragon and seduce Her Highness. She wished she could use her nails to scratch their beautiful faces. She saw Chu Xiaoyang look at the girls one by one. Her heart tightened and her breathing stopped. Chu Xiaoyang's eyes were like torches as he quickly swept over the faces of the girls. His dark pupils became even darker. None. He almost did not believe his eyes. He carefully looked over them again, but he still could not find the face that was deeply imprinted in his mind. "Housekeeper Sue, are you sure everyone in the palace is here? You didn't miss anything?" Chu Xiaoyang said in a deep voice. There was a trace of anger in his voice. He could confirm that the young girl he had seen in a hurry was someone from his residence. Because there was no outsider that could sneak into his palace. Definitely not. Reporting to your highness, there really isn't anyone else. This servant has clearly checked and did not miss a single person. Who is the person your highness is looking for? Could it be for the two maids in Wangfei's courtyard? One of them is called Chun Tao, the other is called Xia He, and the other is a maid brought by the princess. Then there is the concubine consort's maid, Lan Xiang. Housekeeper Su broke out in a cold sweat, but he did not dare wipe it. He could not understand what was wrong with his highness today. Why was he suddenly interested in the maids of the palace? Could it be that the concubine consort had made his highness unhappy? He remembered that his highness had been staying alone in the Peach Blossom Cove for the past few days. He couldn't help scolding himself for being too careless, letting his highness stay alone for so long. He should have arranged for a few gentle and beautiful maids to warm his highness' bed earlier. Chu Xiaoyang knit his brows again. When he heard Chun Tao and Xia he subconsciously knew that the people he was looking for were not them. How could such a pure and refined girl have such an unsophisticated name? All of you scram. He suddenly lost his temper. One by one, the maids were trying to flirt with Chu Xiaoyang. They were not prepared for his shout and were all scared pale. Thinking of the rumors in the palace, they did not dare stay a second longer and ran away in the blink of an eye. You also scram for this king. Chu Xiaoyang looked at the loyal housekeeper Su with displeasure and kicked him in the butt. This idiot, he couldn't even do a small thing, what use was keeping him? Housekeeper Su also hastily covered his butt and ran away. Chen Baiyun's lips couldn't help curling up as a smile spread across her face. She proudly tucked her loose hair behind her temples. These common women, none of them were even half as beautiful as her. How could His Highness like them? But this matter also gave her a warning. His Highness wouldn't suddenly gather a large group of maids for no reason. It must be because she wasn't by his side for the past few days that he felt lonely. She could not help. Your Highness, why are you so angry for no reason? We haven't seen each other for a few days, don't you miss Yun-her? Chen Baiyun's hand touched the door and her red lips slightly opened. Her voice was very delicate, as if water could be squeezed out of it. Chu Xiaoyang tightly knit his brows. It was unknown what he was thinking, but he did not know that Chen Baiyun was right outside the door. Chapter 117. Yun-er, why are you here? Chu Xiaoyang's mood suddenly changed from anger to gentleness. His voice was a bit stiff. But Chen Baiyun did not care. As long as she saw him, she would be satisfied. Your Highness hasn't come to the intoxicated flower pavilion for several days and this concubine was worried about your Highness' body, so I came to visit. Seeing that your Highness is safe and sound, this concubine can finally relax. Your Highness must have something important to do, so this concubine will not disturb your Highness and will leave now. Chen Baiyun did not enter the door. She stood outside and bowed to Chu Xiaoyang before turning to leave. She understood a man's mind. She knew what Chu Xiaoyang liked to hear and what he didn't like the most. She just needed to express her concern for him. As expected, this move filled Chu Xiaoyang's heart with joy. When he saw Chen Baiyun suddenly appear in the Peach Blossom Cove, the slight unhappiness in his heart was swept away. You little thing, where are you going? The two of them were separated by over 10 meters, but in the blink of an eye, Chu Xiaoyang had already appeared in front of Chen Baiyun and she fell into his embrace. Your Highness. She gave a surprised cry. Her waist had already been grabbed by him and she was in his embrace. She reached out and wrapped her arms around his neck. Her breath was like an orchid, making Chu Xiaoyang's heart surge. It had been a long time since he had been intimate with her. At this moment, he was hugging a soft and fragrant body. Her body exuded a faint and sweet fragrance. His blood rushed to his head and he could no longer endure it. He tightened his arms around her and gently bit her white and tender earlobe, letting out a low chuckle. Little thing that doesn't mean what you mean. Did you really come to find this king just to see me? His voice was hoarse and it was filled with an irrepressible emotion. Chen Baiyun was tickled into his embrace and her face filled with embarrassment as she said, Your Highness, you're so bad. You're deliberately teasing Yun-er, but Yun-er won't say it. The two of them had been married for several days. Because she was pregnant and because she had fallen in the hall, he had not touched her at all. Chen Baiyun knew that men were like cats. Once they tasted something, they would be greedy. His heart would fly away if she did not let him have a taste of her. Chu Xiaoyang's hand couldn't help reaching into her clothes. Chen Baiyun's face turned red from embarrassment and she said in a soft voice, Your Highness, not here. There are people here. She still remembered that Lan Xiang was beside her. If the maidservant saw this embarrassing scene, how would she be able to live in the future? Chu Xiaoyang's hand suddenly stopped and he knit his brows. Chu Xiaoyang's hand suddenly stopped and he knit. Yun Chen Yun and Yun E Tian is Yun with Su with his gaze was fixated on her body. She was only wearing a plain white undergarment. Her skin was ice cold, like beautiful jade. Chen Baiyun's heart skipped a beat. This was the chance she wanted. She looked down and shrank into Chu Xiaoyang's embrace, looking like she wanted to say something but was hesitant. Yun as Yun 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 as Yun as Yun Yun comma Yun 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 cheap servant, since you brought clothes, why didn't you let the concubine consort wear them? If Yun catches a cold, this king will take your life. Chapter 118. Your Highness, this has nothing to do with Lan Xiang. It's all this concubine's fault, it's all this concubine's fault. Chen Baiyun struggled out of Chu Xiaoyang's embrace. Yun-er, what does this have to do with you? It's this cheap servant who doesn't know how to serve master. Since she doesn't know how to serve, then this king will find someone else who does. Chu Xiaoyang's cold eyes swept over Lan Xiang. Lan Xiang's body trembled as she kept kowtowing. I beg your highness, this really has nothing to do with this servant. It's. She secretly looked at Chen Baiyun. What is it? Chu Xiaoyang shouted again. It's the concubine consort's dress that's dirty, she can't wear it anymore. Lan Xiang replied in a trembling voice. A good dress, how could it be dirty? Could it be that the concubine consort's dress was dirty, you couldn't have given her another one to change into? It's clear that it's a servant like you who doesn't do your job well, not caring about master at all. Chu Xiaoyang angrily said, as if he wanted to vent all the dissatisfaction in his heart on Lan Xiang. Lan Xiang kept kowtowing, not daring to say a word. Your Highness, please calm your anger. This matter cannot be blamed on Lan Xiang, it's this concubine. This concubine accidentally dirtied my beloved dress. Chen Baiyun's tears were about to fall. She looked like she had been wronged, which immediately aroused Chu Xiaoyang's suspicions. This king remembers that this is your most beloved dress, how could you accidentally dirty it? Something must have happened, tell me everything clearly and don't hide a single word. Chu Xiaoyang's face sank. Your Highness, it's really nothing. Speak. Chu Xiaoyang loudly ordered. Chen Baiyun's heart was filled with pride, but her face was filled with shame. She bit her lips and said, "It's all this concubine's fault. This concubine was worried about elder sister's injuries, so I disobeyed your highness' orders and went to visit elder sister." Before she could finish, she was already coldly interrupted by Chu Xiaoyang. Was it done by that cheap woman? He unconsciously clenched his fists as his heart filled with rage. Actually, it really had nothing to do with Big Sister. Big Sister was seriously injured and had a severe cold. She kept coughing. Yun was worried about Big Sister and went to pat Big Sister's back. In the end, Big Sister spat on Yun's skirt. Big Sister really didn't do it on purpose. She even spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. If Qin Ning heard her words, she would definitely give her 2 fingers in praise. Her accusation was very skillful. Not only did she push all the blame onto Qin Ning, she also showed her deep sisterly love and how loyal she was. Chu Xiaoyang's pupils suddenly shrank. That damned bitch. He gritted his teeth and said hatefully, his eyes bursting with a strong murderous intent. Your Highness, please don't blame elder sister, it was all Yun's fault. If Yun listened to your orders and didn't visit elder sister, then today's matter wouldn't have happened. It was Yun's carelessness that dirted her dress. Elder sister is already this sick, so you can't punish her anymore. Otherwise, Yun's heart will be filled with guilt for the rest of her life. Chen Baiyun's slender hands tightly held onto his sleeves as she pleaded while crying. Yun, let go. This king is telling you, for a cheap person like Qin Ning, she should have died a long time ago. The better you treat her, the more you'll suffer. Humph, this king thought that she wouldn't live for more than a few days with her injuries, but I never thought that she would still be alive. Very good, very good. Chapter 119. Everything that he had experienced was all thanks to that woman. If it wasn't for the fact that he had been thinking about that unknown girl for the past few days and had not taken a single step out of the Peach Blossom Cove, he would have let Qin Ning go this easily. But today, he could not endure it any longer. Someone come. Chu Xiaoyang suddenly gave a loud shout. Chen Baiyun was shocked and quickly said, Your Highness, what do you want to do? Chu Xiaoyang did not reply. He looked at Xiaoenzi who had heard the noise and said in a sharp voice, Pass on my orders. The Princess Chen is seriously ill and will bring disaster to others. Immediately move to the wooden hut and no one is allowed to approach. If anyone dares to enter the wooden hut, they will be killed without mercy. Do you understand? Xiaoenzi immediately bowed and replied, This servant understands. I will definitely follow your highness' orders. Chu Xiaoyang gave a cold snort. Although he hated Qin Ning and wanted her to die, he knew that no matter what, he could not personally kill her. Paper could never cover fire. If he personally killed his wife, sooner or later, the news would spread. Although he didn't like her, their marriage was arranged by the emperor. If the emperor found out, he wouldn't let him go. Therefore, the only thing he could do was to torture her to death. Your Highness, don't. Elder sister is already vomiting blood from her illness. If you send her to the wooden hut, wouldn't that take her life? Chen Baiyun's heart was so happy that she wanted to laugh, but she still had to pretend to be worried. You're right, this king wants that cheap woman's life. Chu Xiaoyang's heart was filled with hate, but he still had a calm expression on his face. He stroked Chen Baiyun's face and his eyes fell onto her stomach. Yun, you shouldn't worry too much about that cheap woman. If she stays in the wooden hut for a few days, perhaps her illness will be cured. Have you felt any discomfort these past few days? Is our child all right? Chen Baiyun gave a shy smile, Your Highness, this concubine is fine. The child is also fine. Chu Xiaoyang gave a laugh. He reached out to pick her up and walked to the intoxicated flower pavilion. Chen Baiyun buried herself in Chu Xiaoyang's chest and finally couldn't help laughing. My good elder sister, you've dirted my dress, so I'll take your life. After Chen Baiyun left, Xiaoru followed behind her and closed the door. She turned around and smiled at Chen Ning with a peach blossom-like smile. Young miss, that mouthful of phlegm you spat just now was really satisfying. It would have been better if he had vomited on second miss's face. Her tone was slightly regretful. Chen Ning sat up on the bed and wiped the blood from her mouth. She blinked at the window and said, she left. Let's go. Xia he answered. She nodded her head vigorously, covered her mouth, and giggled. What? Xia he asked with a smile. Princess consort, you didn't see it. When the concubine Lady Qin came out of our courtyard, she quickly took off that beautiful pink dress and threw it on the ground. She almost stomped on it a few times. When she first came into our courtyard, she was like a proud phoenix, but when she left, she was like a chicken that had its feathers plucked off. When he said this, the four of the Xia he clan shouted time. Chen Ning smiled for a while before putting away her smile. She looked out the window in deep thought. Chapter 120. Chen Ning shook her head. As long as I don't die, she won't give up. She is a ruthless person, and after suffering such a large loss, she will not let this go. Young miss, your meaning is that the second miss will come again. Chen Ning smiled without saying a word. She pointed at the gift box that Chen Baiyun had left behind. Open it and take a look. I wonder what kind of gift my little sister has given me. Xiaoru angrily said, the second miss is just a weasel. The things she brings are either rotten or smelly. This servant will just feed it to the dogs. There's no rush in feeding it to the dogs. First open it and take a look. Chen Ning said with a smile. When the box was opened, there was a burst of light and dazzling light. It was actually a beautiful piece of jewelry. When Xiaoru saw this, she became even angrier. Young miss, this servant understands. The second miss is purposely trying to anger you. She said that these things were given to her by His Highness, so she's giving them to you. She's clearly laughing at us. Who cares about her broken jewelry? After saying this, she threw it out the window. Chen Ning shook her head with a smile. Silly girl, you can just feed it to the dogs. The dogs don't like to eat this. If you take it to the pawn shop, you can get quite a bit of money. This servant is really stupid. Why didn't this servant think of this? This servant will immediately go and pick it up. Xiaoru patted her forehead and quickly ran out of the room. She picked up all the jewelry that she had thrown out. Young miss, you're right. These are all good things and each one is worth quite a bit of money. She picked them up one by one and praised them. She was very happy, completely different from her previous angry mood. Suddenly, Chen Ning seemed to hear some noise outside. The smile on her face froze and her ears perked up. This servant will go out and take a look. Xia he also heard the noise outside and quickly walked out. She quickly came back with a look of panic on her face. Princess consort, this is bad. Housekeeper Su has sent many people over, saying that the princess consort has a serious illness and is afraid that it will affect others. His Highness has personally given the order to move you to the wooden hut. What? Xiaoru's face turned red with anger when she heard this. She clenched her fists and shouted, Young miss, it must be the second miss who complained to His Highness and said bad things about you. Chun Tao also said, the princess consort does not have a cold and will not infect others. Let this servant go and tell them. Slow down, slow down. This princess hasn't even said anything yet, what are you all so anxious for? Chen Ning said in a calm voice. Her face was calm and there was not a single trace of excitement on it. The three maids all looked at her with a puzzled look. Xiao Ru, as she said this, Xiao Ru, Xiao Ru, Xiao Ru, Xiao Xiao, you, Xiao 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 Ru, you Xiao 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 Xiao, as you move. T up the that as you say. T as. T up a, T as. T as is shout as, T as, xiao as he. She. He, Ning, His Highness has gone too far, listening to the second miss side of the story. You are his legal princess, why does he want you to go to the wooden hut? Why doesn't he want his precious concubine to sleep in the wooden hut? It's fine to sleep in the wooden hut. Xiao Ru, calm down. Chun Tao, go out and comfort them. Tell them that I'm packing up and will immediately follow them to the wooden hut. Xia He, come over, I have something to tell you. Chapter 121. Xia He had a confused look on her face. After Chen Ning said a few more words, Xia He nodded. Do you remember everything I said? Chen Ning asked. This servant will remember. Princess Consort can be assured, this servant will definitely take care of this matter. Xia He said with a serious expression. Very good. Chen Ning smiled and then asked, Xia He, you are the daughter of the king's palace, so you must be very familiar with the palace. What is the best place in the palace? Xia He replied without even thinking, of course it's the Flowing Cloud Pavilion. Other than the Peach Blossom Cove, the Flowing Cloud Pavilion is the best. The Peach Blossom Cove is His Highness' forbidden area and without His Highness' orders, no one can enter. This servant has only heard of it and has never seen it. Peach Blossom Cove. Flowing Cloud Pavilion. Chen Ning thought about it for a moment. Then she suddenly clapped her hands and said with a smile, all right, we'll move to the Flowing Cloud Pavilion when the time comes. She liked this name as soon as she heard it. Hearing this, Xiao Ru and Xia He's mouths fell open as they looked at her in disbelief. His Highness had already ordered her to be locked up in the wooden hut, which was equivalent to being thrown into the cold palace. How could she still live in the Flowing Cloud Pavilion? But the two of them were afraid that Chen Ning would be sad, so no one dared to say anything. Outside, the servants sent by housekeeper Su had already charged into the courtyard and were currently cursing at Chun Tao. Quickly move, quickly move. His Highness has ordered that the princess must immediately move to the wooden hut without any delays. If anyone dares to disobey, they will be killed without mercy. The one speaking was a middle-aged man with a sharp mouth. His face was filled with sarcasm, as if he was using a chicken feather as an arrow. Chun Tao recognized him as one of housekeeper Su's stewards, surnamed Fan. She immediately smiled and said, Steward Fan, please make an exception. Our princess is still sick in bed and cannot be frightened. Wait for us to clean up and then we'll immediately go to the wooden hut. Steward Fan gave a cold laugh and said, who dares disobey His Highness' orders? Quickly give up this place. His Highness wants to raise a few hounds here. If you delay His Highness' orders, do you not want your heads anymore? Following his words, several fierce-looking large dogs were brought into the courtyard. When they saw Chun Tao, they began to bark loudly. They bared their teeth and pounced forward. The hairs on Chun Tao's body stood up. Her legs went soft from fright and she fell to the ground. If you know what's good for you then quickly scram. Otherwise, don't blame me for feeding you to His Highness' beloved dogs as snacks. Steward Fan looked at Chun Tao's pale face and proudly laughed. Changing this place into a kennel, of course, it was not Chu Xiaoyang's idea. It was Chen's words. Chen words. Chen's face, Chen's face, Chen's SSSSSS. Steward Fan was a person that only cared about profit and had long wanted to curry favor with Chen Baiyun as a concubine. Seeing this good thing that was delivered to his door, he naturally accepted it. In SSS in Chen SS heard in Chen S of Wang Ning her Xiao Ning you and I of I of you of S Chin I Chin S people. Done said Fans the Chin S, young miss, this servant wants to fight with them. I can't let them humiliate you like this. Young miss, this servant wants to go all out with them. We can't let them humiliate you like this. Chapter 122. Xiao Ru, stop. Chen Ning shouted out. Her face was very calm and there was not a trace of anger on it. She softly said, it's just a few mad dogs barking outside, so let them bark. Xiao Ru, Xia He, help this princess pack up. Don't delay planting beans because of the barking of rabbits. Xiao Ru and Xia He's eyes opened wide. Young miss, why aren't you angry? They have already bullied you. Are you just going to let them treat this place like a dog farm? This is not a good place. If they like to raise dogs, pigs, and turtles, then let them do as they please. When we move to the Flowing Cloud Pavilion, I promise you that I will not raise dogs here, all right? Chen Ning giggled as she spoke. She walked over and took the stool from Xiao Ru's hands. If you don't help me pack up, be careful that I don't spank your butt. Xiao Ru and Xia He did not understand Chen Ning's expression, but the two of them still obediently listened to her orders and quickly packed up a small bag. Xiao Ru, come with me to the wooden hut. Xia He, you and Chun Tao don't need to come with us. Just bear with it for a few days. Also, you have to do the things I told you well. Outside the window, Steward Fan's urging and cursing became louder and louder. The dog's barking did not stop. Chen Ning turned a deaf ear to him. She calmly explained everything before slowly walking out the door. Whose family's dog is this? Why does it keep barking? It only knows how to bark and doesn't even recognize its master. It really should be beaten to death. She stood at the door and did not even look at Steward Fan in the yard. Manager Fan's face turned red for a moment, then green for a moment. There was actually someone who dared to call him a dog. This was simply going against the heavens. He stared at Chen Ning and pointed at her with gritted teeth. He shouted, "Where did you come from, stinky girl? You're quite bold, daring to call this steward a dog." He saw that Chen Ning was wearing old clothes, her hair was not combed, and her face was pale, so he thought that she was a servant girl. Chen Ning's face sunk. Her eyes were like ice as she coldly looked over. How bold! What kind of thing are you, daring to insult this princess? What? You're the princess. Steward Fan's eyes opened wide in shock. He had seen Chen Ning in the wedding hall before, but Chen Ning's face had been painted beyond recognition, so he couldn't recognize her. Insulting the princess is a great crime. Chun Tao, according to the palace's rules, how should I be punished? Chen Ning coldly said. Chun Tao looked at Steward Fan. Her heart was filled with fear and she did not dare to reply. Speak! Chen shouted. Chun Tao's heart skipped a beat and she blurted, Chun Tao, all right, then help this princess slap this servant's mouth. Chen Ning gave a cold laugh. Chen Ning Chen of Chin, king. Chen, Wang Chen, Chen of Ning, Chen of Chen, Chen, Ning Ning, Chen of Chen, of Chen, of Chen of Wang, Chen King, Chen. Someone dragged this princess to the woodshed. The people he brought this time were all strong men with wide waists. They all rolled up their sleeves as they charged at Chen Ning. Xiao Ru blocked in front of Chen Ning and shouted, "You dirty paws, you're not allowed to touch my young miss." Chapter 123. Chen Ning raised her brows and gave a cold laugh in her heart. Chen Baiyun, Chen Baiyun, my good little sister, your heart is even more poisonous than a scorpion's, actually planning this. If the original owner was here and these rough men touched her body, even if she didn't die from illness, she would have committed suicide from the humiliation. But no matter how much you calculated, you never considered that the current Chen Ning was no longer the Chen Ning of the past that could not differentiate between good and bad. Stop. Her long brows knit together and she coldly shouted. She did not show any anger. Her eyes were as cold as water and her brows were filled with an inviolable aura. The servants were stunned and stopped in unison. They were intimidated by her might and didn't dare to move forward. Steward Fan angrily said, "Go, all of you go. We are following His Highness' orders, what are you afraid of?" His Highness. What does he count for? Chen Ning gave a contemptuous smile and coldly stared at Steward Fan. Open your dog eyes wide and look carefully. This princess is the legal princess of your highness and it was personally arranged by the emperor. If you are disrespectful to this princess, it is the same as disrespecting the emperor. If you insult this princess, it is the same as insulting the emperor. You dog servants, if you dare to touch a single finger of this princess, you are slapping the emperor's face in front of everyone. She said each word in a loud and clear voice. Steward Fan and the servants were stunned. No one dared to move forward and no one dared to take even half a step in front of her. Even the fiercest Steward Fan became mute. It was like he had been hit by a heavy blow and turned into a sick chicken. Heavens, this woman had even brought up the emperor, who would dare to touch her. Touching her was the same as touching the emperor. Even if they ate a bear's heart or a leopard's gall, they wouldn't dare. The servants all looked at Steward Fan and their hearts began to beat the drums of retreat. Steward Fan secretly complained, feeling like his head was about to explode. He never would have dreamed that Chen Ning would bring out the emperor to suppress him. No matter how big His Highness was, he couldn't be bigger than the emperor. But this was something His Highness had given him. If he didn't do a good job, His Highness would heavily punish him. If it was a light punishment, it would be eating bamboo shoots on his butt. If it was heavy, perhaps his head would be removed. With a put-on sound. Everyone was shocked. When they looked up, they found that the arrogant Steward Fan had suddenly knelt down in front of Chen Ning. He said with a crying face, "Princess consort, great aunt, old ancestor, I beg you to let this servant live. His Highness has ordered this servant to invite you to the wooden hut for 2 days. If this servant can't do it, then it will be a dead end for us. I beg the princess consort to be merciful and spare the lives of these servants. I ask the princess to be merciful and let these servants live." Chen Ning revealed a smile. She was thinking that this Steward Fan was really someone who knew when to yield, no wonder he could climb to his current position. In order to achieve his goal, he really didn't care about his face at all. Chen Ning revealed a smile. She thought that this Steward Fan was really someone who knew when to submit. No wonder he could climb to his current position. In order to achieve his goal, he really didn't care about his face. Her expression was indifferent as she spoke slowly. Steward Fan's eyes immediately lit up. He thought to himself that his act of kneeling and admitting defeat had indeed worked. Steward Fan's eyes lit up. He was secretly thinking that by kneeling down, there really was a way. Yes, yes, yes. The princess is compassionate, we will all remember the princess' benevolence. Chapter 124. Steward Fan suddenly became speechless. His face turned green and white as he steeled his heart and said, "This servant's breath stinks, I should be slapped. There is no need for the princess to send people to teach me a lesson, this servant will slap his own mouth." He raised his hand and slapped his own face. It was a clear and resounding slap. Chen Ning gave a cheev laugh. Not bad, it's a very loud slap and the sound is very pleasant to listen to. This princess still hasn't heard enough, so keep hitting me like this. When this princess has heard enough and doesn't want to listen anymore, you can stop hitting me. Steward Fan was like a frosted eggplant, wilting. How could he have thought that his trick would be seen through by Chen Ning in an instant? With a bitter expression, he struck out with his left and right palms, striking himself with both hands. This time it was all real. There was no sound, but after a few slaps, his face swelled up like a fat bun. Finally he heard Chen Ning's lazy voice. "That's enough." Steward Fan acted like he had been granted amnesty as he kowtowed to Chen Ning. "This servant thanks the princess for her grace. There are a few more dogs in this yard that are letting out dog farts and smelling to the heavens. We can't live here anymore. Xiao Ru, come with me to the wooden hut for a few days. Chun Tao, Xia He, you two stay here. Didn't Steward Fan say that he wanted to raise dogs here? And this princess sees that these dogs are quite fat. Steward Fan, take good care of them. When the weather turns cold, stew them into a pot of fragrant meat for this princess, do you understand?" Chen Ning revealed a smile as she looked at Steward Fan. With one sentence from her, the other person would agree. Steward Fan did not dare not agree, but he said in his heart, "These are His Highness' most beloved dogs. If His Highness knew that he had stewed his beloved dogs into a pot of dog meat, he would chop me up and feed me to the dogs." It was a good thing that Chen Ning finally agreed to go to the wooden hut. His heart let out a sigh of relief. This servant will send someone to take the princess consort to the wooden shed and lead the way for the princess consort. He was like a dog trying to please her. No need, Steward Fan should just stay here and raise the dogs. This princess can't stand the smell of dog farts. After Chen Ning said this, she walked out without looking back. Xiao Ru carried a small bag and followed behind her. Steward Fan's face was filled with embarrassment. His swollen eyes stared at Chen Ning's back. He wanted to curse out, but he did not dare to. He was already filled with regret. He shouldn't have coveted Qin Bai Yun's 100 silver coins and ended up offending the princess consort. It had to be known that the princess consort was the official princess that the emperor had personally ordered. She was a true Buddha that could not be offended. How could he have been blinded by money? However, didn't they say that the princess consort was seriously injured and had a cold? Didn't they say that she was sick to the point of death? But when he saw the princess consort scolding him, her lips were like spears and her tongue was like arrows. How did she look like she was about to die? His heart was filled with doubt, but he did not want to report what had happened here to Wang Yi. He did not want to leave the impression that he was incompetent. "All of you, keep your mouths shut. No one is allowed to say a word about what happened here today. If I find out that someone said anything, he turned around and said coldly to the crowd of servants. He swept away the flattering attitude he had in front of Chen Ning and became arrogant. His voice was filled with threat. The ugly scene of him slapping himself in front of Chen Ning definitely could not be spread out. Otherwise, no one in the palace would put him in their eyes. Chapter 125. Intoxicated Flower Pavilion, by the Lotus Pond. Chen Baiyun was smiling as she held a small bowl of fish food. She was playing with the fish in the pond, occasionally letting out a cheerful laugh. Chu Xiaoyang was leaning against the railing. His eyes were filled with a smile as he stared at Chen Baiyun's face without blinking. This was the woman he loved, and she had his child in her belly. Seeing her happy smile, his heart was filled with satisfaction and comfort. Women should be like Yun, always treating men as their heavens. As long as he was willing to accompany her for a while, she would be very happy. She would never complain in front of him and would always welcome him with a smile like a flower. Not like that damn Chen Ning. Chu Xiaoyang's heart filled with disgust. How could he think of that damn woman at such a beautiful time? The smile on his face suddenly disappeared, and he abruptly sat up. Your Highness, why are you suddenly unhappy? Although Chen Baiyun was feeding the fish, she was still looking at Chu Xiaoyang's face from the corner of her eyes. She did not miss a single expression on his face. She put down the fish food and walked beside Chu Xiaoyang. Leaning into his embrace, she sweetly said, Your Highness, how about you feed the fish? These fish are really beautiful. Look at the one with the red dot on its head. It's the greediest and eats the most, he. Chu Xiaoyang held her waist and absent-mindedly looked at the sparkling surface of the lake. He was not looking at the fish in the water, but rather at the deep green lake water. It was unknown what he thought of, but he suddenly tightened his grip on Chen Baiyun's arms and a strange gentleness appeared in his eyes. Yun, 8 years ago, it was you who jumped into the water to save this king, otherwise this king would not be here today. This king wants to ask you, you were only 8 years old back then, how did you have the courage to jump into the lake to save someone? His face was handsome, but his temperament was cold. When he didn't speak or smile, he was like an ice mountain that people did not dare approach. But at this moment, his lips were filled with a smile and his eyes were filled with gentleness. It made his cold face become gentle, making him look even more handsome. Chen Baiyun's heart began to beat like a little deer. Her eyes stared at his handsome face in a daze, almost stopping her breathing. Yun. Chu Xiaoyang called her a few more times before she woke up from her infatuation. She lowered her head with a blushing face and said in a low voice, Your Highness, your smile is truly beautiful, even Yun is stunned by it. Can you smile at Yun like this more often in the future? Her voice was sweet and charming. All right. Chu Xiaoyang revealed a smile, You still haven't told me why you jumped into the water to save me back then. All right. Chu Xiaoyang revealed a smile, You still haven't told me why you jumped into the water to save me in the past. Thinking of the past, his mood became strange and his eyes became deep as he looked at Chen Baiyun. The girl in front of him was no longer a charming and alluring young girl, but the little girl who was dripping wet all over and had her hair dripping with water. Chen Baiyun's heart skipped a beat. Her two small white hands grabbed onto Chu Xiaoyang's clothes and she pouted as she said, Your Highness, it has been so many years. Yun was still young at the time, so how could I remember? You Don. A look of disappointment flashed in Chu Xiaoyang's eyes, but then he revealed a relieved smile and said, That's right, you were still that young back then, so it's normal that you don't remember. But after all these years, this king still remembers how you looked when you saved me. Chapter 126. Chu Xiaoyang's eyes were not shocked at all. Rather he looked at her face, as if he was trying to find the past from her current appearance. Chen Baiyun's breathing couldn't help becoming tight and her heart skipped a beat. That year, this king accidentally fell into the water and when I woke up, I saw you. You were soaking wet like you had just been fished out of the water and your hair was disheveled, making you look like a water ghost. I was so scared that I fainted, but who would have thought that the water ghost you from back then would become this beautiful after 8 years? Yun, when you saved me in the past, did you think that there would be a day like this? Did you think that you would marry me and become this king's woman? His eyes were filled with tenderness as he spoke of the emotional part. He wrapped his arms around her and kissed her deeply on the cheek. His lips were burning hot, but Chen Baiyun's palms were ice cold. She buried her head into Chu Xiaoyang's chest. Your Highness, Yun knew in the past that I wouldn't marry anyone else but you. Yun will be your woman for life, so don't ever abandon Yun alright? What nonsense. You are this king's most beloved woman, how could this king abandon you? Chu Xiaoyang said without any hesitation. Pausing, he then said, Yun you can be assured. The position of the princess will be yours sooner or later. The Ding Yuan Princess Phoenix crown, this king will personally place it on your head. You are the wife in this king's heart, not a concubine or a concubine. Chen Baiyun's heart burst with joy hearing this. She looked up and nodded at Chu Xiaoyang. Her eyes sparkled, captivating his soul. Seeing this, his blood began to boil as he carried her into the room. Suddenly, he stopped in his tracks and turned around. The passion in his eyes was quickly replaced by frost as he stared coldly in front of him. Come out. This servant Fan Tong has something to report to your highness. Steward Fan crawled out of the flowers and kneeled on the ground. He was trembling as he spoke in a trembling voice. He secretly cursed his bad luck. He didn't come earlier or later, but he had to come when his highness wanted to be intimate with the concubine. He had nowhere to hide, so he could only run into the flowers and stab his butt with rose thorns. What is it? Chu Xiaoyang's eyes were filled with impatience. Your highness, I have followed your orders and sent the princess to the woodshed, and changed the place where the princess used to live into a kennel. Before he could finish, he was interrupted by Chu Xiaoyang. Rice bucket. You really are a rice bucket, you. You want to report such a small matter to this king. Scram. He was currently burning with passion, how could he be in the mood to listen to his report about Qin Ning? Especially when he heard the word princess, it was like he had stepped in dog shit and his heart was filled to the brim. Steward Fan had wanted to take credit in front of Wang Yi and Si Fei, but he never thought that he would be reprimanded. He could only leave with his tail between his legs. Chen Baiyun hated him for not understanding the situation and interrupting her good matter, but when she heard that Qin Ning had been sent to the wooden shed, her mood became much better. Your Highness. She wrapped her arms around Chu Xiaoyang's neck and revealed a charming smile. She twisted a bit, wanting to continue their entanglement. Chu Xiaoyang no longer had any thoughts of being intimate with her. He put her down and absent-mindedly said, Yun, you should rest first. This king still has things to do, I'll come see you when I have time. After saying this, he took large steps and left without looking back. Chen Baiyun's mouth was wide open as she looked at Chu Xiaoyang's back in disbelief. He left. His Highness actually left like this without any reluctance? She had spent a lot of effort to make His Highness' eyes fall on her again, but it had been ruined by that untactful steward. He really deserved to die. Chapter 127. Of course Qin Ning did not die. Rather she was living a very leisurely life. The wooden hut was very simple and it was ventilated on all sides. She sat down on the hard wooden bed without a care and suddenly gave an sound. Young miss, is this bed too hard? This servant will put some grass on it and it will be much softer. Xiao Ru said. No, I just remembered that I forgot to bring something. What is it? This servant will go get it now. Chen Ning shook her head and said, no need. Even if I bring it back, I'm afraid I won't be able to use it. She thought of the 10 fishing nets that she had hung on the beam of the house and sighed softly. It had been 5 days and Chu Xiaobai had not appeared again. She had spread out the nets, but he still did not come. She had never expected him to appear, but when he really did not appear, her heart filled with a sense of loss. That beautiful youth that was as beautiful as the spring flowers and winter snow, she had scolded him, hit him, and teased him. But only he had brought her out of this cage like king's palace. He had brought her to fly over the roofs of the night, and he had brought her to the top of the royal palace to look down on the entire capital city. But after that night, he had never appeared again. Little stinky brat, it's best if you never appear again. Otherwise, I'll bite you to death. Chen Ning suddenly curled her lips and scolded him with a smile. Young miss, who do you want to bite to death? The second miss. Xiao Ru was confused hearing this. Chen Ning couldn't help poking Xiao Ru's forehead. Stupid girl, I'll bite you to death. Xiao Ru stuck out her tongue and giggled as she said, Young miss, spare me. The two of them joked around for a bit before Xiao Ru began to get busy. Her hands and feet moved quickly and she quickly cleaned up the messy wooden hut. The broken wooden table was also wiped clean. Chen Ning lazily looked over and said, Xiao Ru, there's no need to clean up. We won't be staying here for long. But this servant feels like this place is pretty good. It's comfortable living here and I don't need to see those annoying people. Xiao Ru said. She began to like this small wooden hut. The tree wants to be quiet, but the wind will not stop. Even if we are willing to live here peacefully, there are still people who are not willing. Chen Ning gave a gentle smile. She opened the gift Shen Bai Yun sent over and carelessly played with the jewelry. You're talking about the second miss. Xiao Ru knit her brows. We're already living in the wooden hut, what does the second miss want? Of course she wants me to die. Chen Ning casually said, she wants me to die, but I won't die. Not only that, I want her and Chu Xiaoyang to respectfully invite me out of the wooden hut and invite me to live in the best flowing cloud pavilion. Xiao Ru's mouth fell open in shock and she couldn't close it for a while. Young miss, are you serious? Although Chen Ning had said it once, when she heard it, she didn't take it to heart. She just thought the young miss was joking. Xiao Chin. Chen Ning revealed a smile and rubbed her stomach as she said, I'm so hungry. I don't think anyone will send us food, so we'll just have to do it ourselves. But there's nothing here. This servant wants to cook, but there's no rice or grain. What should we do? Xiao Ru's stomach was rumbling with hunger as she spread her hands. When I came here, I saw that there were some sweet potatoes planted in the yard. Let's go dig a few out. There's firewood here, we can roast them to eat. Chen Ning's eyes sparkled. Chapter 128. The sweet potatoes that were dug out of the ground were very big and they were very fragrant after being roasted. Peeling off the burnt skin, the red meat was revealed. It was so delicious that Xiao Ru almost swallowed her tongue. Young miss, this roasted sweet potato is too delicious. It's the best thing this servant has ever eaten in my life. Xiao Ru ate 2 large sweet potatoes in one go. Her stomach was bloated, but she still wanted more as she licked her fingers. Chen Ning did not let her eat any more and said with a smile, although sweet potatoes are good, you can't eat too much. If you eat too much, you'll have acid reflux, diarrhea, hiccups, and oh, that's right, you'll also keep farting. After she said this, Xiao Ru was so scared that she pulled back her hand that was reaching for the sweet potato. She stuck out her tongue and said, then this servant won't eat anymore. This servant doesn't want to fart like His Highness and the second miss. The two of them looked at each other and broke out in laughter. In the dead of night, the master and servant were both sleeping very soundly. The wooden bed was very small and could only fit one person at a time. Chen Ning slept on the bed and Xiao Ru placed some straw on the side of the bed, making a mattress. In the middle of the night, the two wooden windows suddenly opened with a th-zhi-ya sound and a cold wind blew in. Chen Ning and Xiao Ru woke up at the same time. It's nothing, the windows were just blown open by the wind. Young miss, you can continue to sleep, this servant will go close the window. Xiao Ru rubbed her eyes and yawned as she went to close the window. Before she could walk to the window, a ghostly face with disheveled hair and a face as white as paper suddenly appeared in front of the window. It stuck out its blood-red tongue at her and let out a ghostly cry. Its 10 hands were bent like chicken claws, ready to pounce on her. Ghost, there's a ghost. Xiao Ru was so scared that her hairs stood up. Her legs went soft and she fell to the ground, almost fainting. The ghost leaped in through the open window, hopping and hopping. Mother, it's a crippled ghost. Xiao Ru was so scared that she couldn't even scream. Her body trembled as she tightly closed her eyes. Her mouth kept muttering, don't eat me, my flesh isn't tasty. If you want to eat it, go eat the second miss. The ghost jumped past her and directly jumped at Chen Ning on the wooden bed. Xiao Ru was scared witless, but she still gathered her courage to hug the leg of the lame ghost. She shouted, if you want to eat me, don't touch my family's young miss. The ghost jumped in front of the bed and gave a sinister laugh at Chen Ning. Young miss, run. Xiao Ru sat in front of the bed and laughed. Chen Ning sat up. Not only did she not run, she went up to the ghost and reached out to grab its tongue. Hey, your fake tongue is too lousy. I can tell it's fake at a glance. Do you think it's fake just by tying a piece of red cloth around your tongue? Also, where did you get that hair? It's too. And these clothes, tsk. Next time you want to pretend to be a ghost, I will teach you. As she spoke, she pulled out the ghost's red tongue, disheveled hair, and pulled at the ghost's clothes. He pulled. Chen and. She that. He almost and he and out. He almost tripped over the ghost robe that he had dragged to the ground. He was in a very sorry state. Chen Ning giggled as she got off the bed. She threw the red tongue and hair to the ground and walked in front of the ghost. She grabbed the ghost's ear. Xiao Bai, how are you? You haven't shown yourself in a few days and now you pretend to be a ghost to scare elder sister. You almost scared my maid half to death. Tell me, how should I punish you? Chapter 129. He had spent so much effort to disguise himself like this. He had even scared himself when he looked at himself in the mirror. He never thought that not only would he not scare her, he would be scared by her. It's not that I'm not afraid of ghosts, it's just that your ghost is too fake, alright? Let me teach you a few moves next time. Chen Ning said with a smile. I'm not pretending anymore, it's not fun at all. The ghost broke free from her and with a flash, it jumped out of the window. Xiao Ru had just recovered from her shock. She crawled up from the ground and was still trembling. She looked at the red tongue on the ground and the messy wig before coming to a realization. Young mistress, is this ghost fake? Of course it's fake. This kind of clumsy trick can only trick little children. Only little brats that haven't grown up yet would like to play this kind of trick to scare people. Chen Ning curled her lips as she spoke. Try calling me little wimp one more time. Chu Xiaobai's voice suddenly came from the door. It was a low and deep voice that contained a trace of anger. The moonlight shined in through the window, giving his flawless face a faint glow. His delicate brows were bathed in the moonlight and the wind gently lifted the corner of his robe. His white robe was spotless and he was like an immortal that had descended from the heavens. Young miss, quickly look. An immortal has descended to the mortal world. Xiao Ru gasped in shock. She grabbed Chen Ning's sleeve and excitedly shouted. Poochie! Chen Ning couldn't help laughing. Chu Xiaobai's lips also twitched. His sparkling peach blossom eyes looked over at Xiao Ru. Seeing Xiao Ru's peach blossom face, her heart skipped a beat. Her heart kept saying, God, there is actually such a beautiful person in this world. Although she did not cry out, Chen Ning could guess her thoughts from the corner of her eyes. She couldn't help curling her lips. Xiao Bai, this girl of mine is a short-sighted person. If you smile at her again, I can't guarantee what will happen next. She said with a smile that wasn't a smile. Chu Xiaobai was prepared to tease Xiao Ru, but his heart turned cold when he heard this. He immediately put away the smile on his face and revealed a serious expression. Little girl, you'd better obediently go to sleep. He raised his right finger and a gust of wind silently flew out, hitting Xiao Ru's sleeping acupuncture point. Xiao Ru closed her eyes and fell backwards. Chu Xiaobai waved his sleeve and Xiao Ru's body was lifted up by something as she was placed on the bed. Good martial arts. Chen Ning couldn't help giving him a thumbs up. Chu Xiaobai rolled his eyes and disdainfully said, What kind of martial arts is this? It's just a small trick. Do you want to see more profound martial arts? Then beg me. If you beg me, I'll show you what I'm capable of. Chen Ning smiled and said, Xiao 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 xiao, xiao 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 xiao. Xiao 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 xiao. Chu Xiaobai gave a cold snort and looked up at the leaking firewood room. He clicked his tongue twice. Little hedgehog, aren't you quite powerful with thorns all over your body? How did Xiao 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 long, did put? Did my third brother abuse you these past few days? She you. Tell me and I'll help you vent your anger. His eyes sparkled as he looked at Chen Ning. A look of concern flashed across his eyes, but it disappeared in a flash. It was so fast that Chen Ning couldn't see it clearly. No need. Chen Ning shook her head. Why? Chu Xiaobai knit his brows. He was not used to his good intentions being rejected. Chapter 130. Her expression was very calm, like she was talking about a very normal matter. But Chu Xiaobai knew that every word she said was serious. He clapped his hands and said with a smile, Good. Good. Then I'll be waiting to see the day my third brother falls to your hands. Seeing his gloating expression, Chen Ning was surprised. I want to deal with your third brother, but you're not worried for him, instead you're looking forward to his misfortune. Is he still your blood-related brother? He has done something wrong to you, so of course I'll stand on your side. Do you think I, Chu Xiaobai, am that kind of person who doesn't know right from wrong and doesn't help those close to me? Chu Xiaobai stuck out his chest. Chen Ning couldn't help smiling. She casually asked, Where have you been these past few days? Why haven't you shown yourself? She thought that this fellow could predict the future. She had prepared the nets for several days to catch a big fish like him, but he did not even show his face. She never thought that as soon as she moved into the wooden hut, he would come over without an invitation. Chu Xiaobai's eyes lit up and he jumped forward, landing less than a foot away from Chen Ning. His strong chest almost hit her nose. Did you miss me? He revealed a smile. Nonsense. Chen Ning scolded him with a smile. Of course she would not admit it, but she couldn't deny that in the days he did not appear, she had indeed thought of him. She was not used to being this close to him. Her upper body slightly leaned back and she moved back, but her waist was grabbed by him and she couldn't move. He was very tall, especially when they were looking at each other face to face. She almost had to tilt her head back to see his face. He looked down at her from above and suddenly lowered his head. His flawless face was very close to hers. Chen Ning's heart tightened and her breathing stopped. This distance was so close that she couldn't see his appearance. She could only see his large eyes that were filled with light, just like countless bright stars. "You just miss me," he declared triumphantly. Although she refused to admit it, her expression didn't escape his eyes. The moonlight was like a veil that enveloped her body. Her raised face was clean without a single trace of makeup. Her black and soft long hair cascaded down like a waterfall, making her beautiful face seem especially fair and tender. It was as if water could be squeezed out of it with a single pinch. He almost didn't dare to look at her eyes. Those eyes were like the spring river and autumn moon. Just one look and he couldn't help but feel his heart skip a beat. Even if it was like this, his heart was beating so fast that it almost jumped out of his chest. His hand was holding her soft and slender waist, as if he could break it with a slight grip. He felt like he was going to break it. Chen Ning saw his white jade-like face suddenly turn red and his eyes began to look away, no longer looking at her. This brat was shy again. She couldn't help giving a gentle laugh. When she saw him pretending to be a playboy, she wanted to tease him. She didn't expect him to be so easily shy. He was indeed a pure and inexperienced youth. "Xiao Bai, have you forgotten who I am? Why don't you let me go?" She looked at him with a half-smile. In this era, men and women were not allowed to touch each other. He kept hugging her, was he not afraid of her clinging to him? Chu Xiaobai's face turned red again and he couldn't help letting go. But thinking about it, the arm holding her waist tightened. "I'm not letting go." Chapter 131. What third sister-in-law? You and him are only in name. He has never bowed to the heavens and earth with you, nor has he drunk the nuptial wine with you, nor has he slept with you. He angrily said. But my marriage with him was personally decided by the emperor. I am his princess, this is an undeniable fact. Chen Ning blinked her eyes and said. If you're willing, I can take you away from here and go to a place where no one can find you. At that time, you won't be some princess and you won't be living in this dog kennel. I will. I will. His face suddenly turned red. There was something he had been holding in his heart for a long time. He wanted to say it now, but he was too shy. Chen Ning did not give him a chance to say it. She shook her head and said, I've said it before, I like living here. I won't go anywhere. Chu Xiaobai's face instantly turned white and the burning blood in his body froze. You still like my third brother. No matter how he treats you, even if he beats you, scolds you, or abuses you, or even chases you to this wooden hut, he still holds your little sister affectionately. You only have him in your heart, don't you? He said through gritted teeth. Chen Ning revealed a smile. Of course not. Was she as cheap as he said she was? Then why aren't you willing to leave him? Not willing to leave this place? Chu Xiaobai stared right into her eyes. When did I say I wasn't willing to leave him? Chen Ning asked with a smile. You just said it. He suppressed his anger as he said this. Oh. Chen Ning smiled again. It seemed like the angrier he was, the more she wanted to smile. When I finish what I need to do, I will naturally leave. Only now. It's not the right time. She looked down. Xiaobai, let go of me. We can talk properly. She was imprisoned in his arms, and every breath she took was filled with the clear scent of his body. Although in her heart, he was just like a little brother, in reality, he had already put on a crown. The ancients had put on a crown at 20, so he could already be considered an adult man. I won't let go unless you tell me when the time is right. He stubbornly said. He really was a stubborn little brat. Chen Ning was a little annoyed, but she knew that she could not fight him head-on with his temper. Her eyes turned and she suddenly gave an "I-O" sound. What is it? He released her a bit. What kind of treasure is hidden in your chest? Damn, it hurts. Chen Ning complained, deliberately changing the topic. This? Chu Xiaobai was tricked and his attention was instantly diverted. He let go of her and took out a brocade box the size of his palm from his bosom. He presented it to her as if it were a treasure. It's for you. He smiled, unable to hide the pride in his eyes. Xiao Xiao, Qin said. Qin, Xiao, Xiao Xiao, Xiao Xiao. Xiao, Xiao and Xiao Xiao and one Xiao was Xiao and Xiao 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 too. Xiao 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 said the Xiao and could. And Xiao 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 the she and looked. She gently opened the lid of the box and saw that there was another small box inside, but it was tightly wrapped in cotton cloth. She didn't know what kind of trick it was. She suddenly remembered the pranks she used to play with her friends when she was young. She would often put some strange things in a box and lure her friends to open it. Chapter 132. This Chu Xiaobai, he wouldn't be playing this kind of childish game with her, right? She suspiciously looked at Chu Xiaobai. She saw that his expression was a little excited, a little nervous, and a little expectant. Opening the cloth, she opened the last small box. After seeing what was inside the box, Chen Ning couldn't help letting out an sound. Her voice was filled with praise and amazement. What appeared in front of her was actually a sparkling and translucent ice flower that seemed to be carved out of crystal. This was a snow lotus and each petal was vividly carved. It was as if it was unfolded and looked very lifelike. Do you like it? Chu Xiaobai stared at her face without blinking. Seeing her happy and praising smile, he couldn't help curling his lips. I like it. Chen Ning nodded without hiding anything. This beautiful ice lotus was like a work of art. It shone brightly under the moonlight, and the strangest thing was that she seemed to smell a faint lotus fragrance. This fragrance was actually coming from the ice lotus. But this flower was clearly carved from ice and Chen Ning believed that her eyes were not wrong, so how could it be releasing the fragrance of a real snow lotus? This ice flower. How could it be fragrant? She couldn't help raising her long eyelashes. Coming closer to smell it, the fragrance was even more fragrant. Chu Xiaobai could also smell the sweet fragrance, but it was the fragrance of a young girl coming from her body. It was refreshing and made him feel intoxicated, like he was drinking wine. Especially when he saw her sparkling eyes and the faint blush on her cheeks, he was completely stunned. Third brother, was he blind? He actually ignored such a beautiful and moving girl and instead went to pamper that unbearably vulgar Qin Baiyun. At this moment, he was incomparably glad that his third brother did not see her beauty. Hey, let me ask you, why is this ice flower fragrant? Chen Ning saw that he was staring at her without saying a word, so she couldn't help asking another question. He suddenly realized that he had lost his composure. He coughed in embarrassment and quickly looked away. This is what you wanted, of course it's fragrant. He casually said. Chen Ning knit her brows and her face was filled with confusion. That day when you were drunk, you said that you wanted ice fragrant and that you wanted some eggs. I didn't hear you clearly, but I heard this ice fragrant very clearly. Tell me, isn't this ice very fragrant? His eyes sparkled. He said it very easily, but only the heavens knew that because of a single sentence from her, in order to obtain this fragrant ice flower in this spring season, it was unknown how much effort he had put in, how many miles he had traveled, and how many dangers he had encountered. Of course, he would not tell her a single word. Of course, he would not tell her a single word about this. He had done all of this just to make her smile. Ice. Fragrance. Ice fragrance. Chen Ning was a bit confused. She tried to remember what she had said before she got drunk. She was suddenly enlightened and then she broke into laughter. Shao of. Chen said. Shao Chen BB. What she wanted was a fridge, not this kind of ice, fragrant. This Chu Xiaobai was truly a wonder. But as she smiled and smiled, she couldn't bring herself to smile anymore. Her eyes were sour and bitter, and a kind of touched emotion tightly gripped her heart. Chapter 133. Xiaobai, why are you this good to me? She softly said. This was the first time she called his name and the first time, in her eyes, he was no longer that childish young man who only knew how to play pranks. He looked at her beautiful eyes that were like the spring river and autumn moon and his heart beat faster and faster. I like seeing you smile. He blurted out. In fact, she often smiled, but the smile never reached her eyes. From the first time he saw her in the wedding hall, she always had a smile on her face. Although her face was painted red and white like a clown, she was still smiling. Her smile was filled with ridicule and sarcasm. Seeing her talk and laugh as if nothing had happened, making his third brother and his newly married Sifei make a fool of themselves in front of everyone, he was in a very good mood. From that moment on, he could not take his eyes off her face. He really wanted to see what her smile looked like from the bottom of her heart. Today, just now, he had finally seen it. If you're willing, I want to always be this good to you. He forcefully swallowed his saliva and wanted to say the words that had been hidden in his chest for a long time, but the more nervous he was, the harder it was to say it. But even though he didn't say a word, the passion in his eyes betrayed him. Chen Ning was a very smart person. Her clear-as-water eyes slightly looked over his face and saw through his thoughts. Other than feeling touched, there was also a faint sense of surprise in her heart. He liked her. He liked her. Why? She never believed in love at first sight and she never believed in any kind of undying love. Especially after seeing that trash Chu Xiaoyang, she did not have any good feelings towards men surnamed Chu at all. Perhaps Chu Xiaobai was an exception. But he was still young, and it was probably his first time being close to a young girl, so he had a strange feeling for her. Maybe he only liked her face. After his impulse passed, he would naturally throw her to the back of his mind. Just like how he suddenly disappeared and then reappeared. Chen Ning shook her head. Even if he was serious, she did not have the heart to play this game with him right now. Seeing the look of resistance in her eyes, his heart became anxious and he wanted to grab her hand. Who would have thought that his foot would trip and he would almost fall to the ground? Chen Ning couldn't help reaching out to support him. Only now did she notice that there were actually 2 splints on his right leg under his white robe. There were also many white bandages wrapped around it. What happened to your leg? She asked. Nothing. He said in a calm voice as if nothing had happened, it's just a small injury. Is it an injury? Or did you break your leg? She raised her face and stared into his eyes. Tell me, where did you get this snow lotus from? No wonder his behavior today was different from usual. When he was pretending to be a ghost, he would jump and jump. Even after entering the door, he didn't move. If he hadn't lost his footing, she wouldn't have noticed that he had a lame leg. Chu Xiaobai's face couldn't help turning red. Chu Xiaobai's face could not help turning red. But how could he have the nerve to tell her that he had accidentally fallen and injured his leg when he was climbing the icy peak? She would definitely laugh at him. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.